Hello, guys and girls, and welcome to episode 128 of the F.Reality Podcast. This is a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show, live streamed every Saturday on YouTube and on Twitch. Also, let us know in the chat what you think of the new pre-roll that came in before the intro, as the guys have been working hard on that this week, and we're also now streaming in 1080p, so let us know what you think as we're trying our best to level up the show. Also, don't forget that you can catch the show live in VR using big screen TV. The show goes live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in central US. You can also check out the audio version, which is available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and on Spotify. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback during the show, please put them in the chat. We'll try to answer as many questions as we can. And now, of course, it's time for me to introduce you to the team. First up, this guy is literally the worst personal trainer in the world, and don't even get me started on his driving in virtual reality. This guy is truly living up to his name this week. It's Rowdy VR. How you doing, dude? You all right?
I'm doing all right. All the people in the city of Los Santos are doing a little bit less well, but I got arrested in the end, so all turned out fine. I got the court sitting next week, but I got some cheat codes at hand, so I think I'll still manage to get out of that one.
Yeah, the good old Konami code should get you out.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm doing all right. Preparing a little bit more for the big move. But for the rest, everything is fine. Still enjoying life as it is, and playing some more games. And I'll talk about that a little bit later.
Good to hear it. Next up, this guy takes the phrase "cutting shapes" to another level in virtual reality. Working up a sweat this week was VR streamer ZimTalk5. How you doing, dude? You all right?
I'm good. I'm a happy, hoppy little bunny. I've mostly because I've gotten to beat a game. That's a rare thing these days. So earlier in the week, I finally cleared Boneworks, which was like on my bucket list, I suppose, my VR bucket list. So finally did that. I was kind of expecting to be a little bit happier with the game than I was, but hey, but that's like one ticked off the list, and the next two in the line are Saints and Sinners, and then Asgard's after that. So pray for me, please.
Yeah, those two are also on my list. But yeah, I felt the same way that you did at the end of Boneworks. I was just kind of a bit disappointed, I think what they've done, I said it again, with the physics and the weapon handling mechanics and those kind of things, I think are great. I think they should license those out for other people to make games out of them, because I just thought as a game, it wasn't particularly coherent, and the story just kind of lost its way, I think, at the end.
Yeah, it's very, like, they do a lot of admirable things, and actually for them, like, taken, like, as an indie studio, irrespective of the hype, right? If it was just a game sitting on the shelf or whatever, they've taken a lot of risky plays, and a lot of that pays off. But I think it's the pacing and the timing and the story. It's super Humpty Dumpty. It's like there's bits where it's like ultra exciting, and then it's dead beat for like, and it's okay, but it's just inconsistent. And it's so funny because when I knew you were relatively unimpressed with it at the end, right? And I was like ready for I was probably at three quarters of the way through the game, and I was like, I'm ready to upgrade this to a buy. And then the ending, it goes through the ending. Not that the ending's bad, just I went through the ending segment, like the last hour or whatever, and I was like, God damn it. They missed it just by that much. But you're right. The assets and the technology, they've got to open that up. That'd be the right move. Yeah.
I think that would be smart for them, for sure. But glad that you've been having fun this week in O-Shape. That's what I was kind of referring to. But next up, this guy puts his mind, body, and soul on the line for science when testing out the latest VR games and hardware. It's our Frisian friend, it's Nathy. How you doing?
What's up?
How are you?
Yeah, great.
You're good.
It's funny that I was reading the chat, and this is something that has been on my mind for a while. Is that people usually say it's kind of sad that Mike doesn't have an intro, or at least not as fancy as our intros in a way. You just say hey, I'm Mike from VR Oasis.
Yeah, hype all you guys up, and then I just
kind of badass though to say Mike. That, but. They say that maybe we should surprise you from time to time and just cook up something ourselves so we can troll you too. Yeah, because that's the thing. You have been, you troll us.
That's true.
We should be able to troll you too.
Yeah, I have all the fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
People think that we appreciate that, but we don't at all. Every time after the podcast
it's literally the only pleasure I get from doing this show. So please don't take that away from me. No, I'm joking. Of course, I love doing the show. But let us know in the chat if you've got any suggestions for an intro for me. We'd love to hear them. Maybe we can read a couple out after we've done our little intro segment.
That was not a wise move, Mike. You just asked the internet for advice. That's never a good move.
Yeah,
never.
But go for it. Take your best shot. So last but by no means least, before the chat goes wild on my intro, my name is Mike and I'm host of the show from Virtual Reality Oasis. We've got a great show for you today. Some of the highlights include a great deal on some of the best VR games from Humble Bundle. Half-Life Alyx finally gets a release date. We get some more details on the Insomniac games acquisition by Sony. Zim's going to give you the lowdown on the latest releases to look forward to next week. Let's hope they're a little bit better than the previous few weeks, as they've been particularly bad. So I look forward to that. And finally, we're going to be asking the question, should we be using VR to digitally bring back loved ones that have passed away? So interesting topic to sort of end the show with. It's going to be an interesting one. But first, of course, let's find out what everyone's been playing this week and the highlight of the week. And first up is going to be Rowdy. What have you been up to, dude?
Well, this week actually. Well, first I'll talk about the GTA video because I have just a funny story about that I really want to share. I showed my dad that video, and my dad is the kind of character. He gets very immersed with everything that he does. If he's watching a movie, he's literally sitting on the edge of his seat, like almost ready to like jump in. The guy's been like experiencing virtual reality without VR glasses for like decades now. So it's hilarious to see him like get really, immersed in whatever he is watching. So I showed him the video, and there's this scene where I'm like, maybe I should go to the beach. And the next clip shows me like just driving on the beach, like driving over people. My dad saw that, and he went straight like, "You can't do that. You literally can't do that. They're gonna get you for that, right?" And I was like, "Dad, it's a game, huh?" Yeah, but still, like, you can't do that. Like,
he's just sitting there thinking, I've created a monster here.
What is wrong with my son? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Maybe he went to the police saying like, "Hey, listen, he did this," and he doesn't tell it's a game.
Yeah.
But that was for the GTA bit. But this week I've been playing some more Saints and Sinners, but I've also played a 2D game. And that's the one I actually wanted to highlight, and that was XCOM 2. And I know that Mike is a really
XCOM, yeah.
Oh my god, the amount of hours that I've spent in that game, Jesus.
But it made me think like we don't really have something like this in virtual reality, and I'm wondering if there's like a reason for that. Is it maybe one of those genres that really just wouldn't work in VR because it's turn-based? There are some VR games. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, there is one game actually that almost completely replicates the genre, and that is Augmented Empire. But it only came out on Oculus Go and Gear VR, and it's a shame because I loved that game and I finished it. It was really long, had some amazing voice actors in it as well.
You can actually, so that did release for Quest in the end. So it is
it did?
Yeah. So there is a Quest build of that game, which I tried out. The thing is, as you say, it's very long. Like you get to the end of the first chapter, and you think like there's going to be. It's mad.
Yeah, but I love that genre, so I would welcome more games like that in VR.
And do you think that a game like that works well in VR, or would you still prefer to play something like this on just like a screen?
I think it would work well because those games that have like a battlefield that you overlook, like in God mode almost, like Brass Tactics. What was that other the twin stick shooter that came out a long time ago? That was really good as well.
I know, but I don't know the name.
I can't think of the name now.
It says enough about that.
Yeah, it's been a while. But those games where you overlook the battlefield and you can see the little soldiers, and if you physically like look in, you can get like a real close up of them. I love that. So yeah, I would welcome like a
but there are other aspects to the game as well, like for example, like the base building, and all these kind of things, which I really enjoy in XCOM because it gives that strategic element so that every gameplay is a little bit different depending on your approach. Yeah. But I don't really see something like that really working well in VR. I think something like that I would still prefer to play on a screen. Yeah. I think for the majority, even though you have sometimes the advantage of like having the overlook, but with like, the fog of war and all those kind of things. I don't know if you have that much of an advantage in virtual reality when you actually are playing that. I don't know if it's as fun because I don't know. I still think the comfort of like having a screen, especially for those, because you're not really playing the game per se. You're more like, you're like an overlooker, you're trying to actually command troops, and doing that on a screen maybe feels more natural.
I can tell you that there is definitely a measurable difference when you try to do that. Like there's if you're sitting in front of a mouse and keyboard with that kind of micro strategy game, like I was playing a lot of StarCraft this week, and I tried it because my kids are downstairs, and I'm like, and my boy kept running upstairs, downstairs, upstairs, like that. And I'm like, feck it, I'll just sit on the couch and play in my Quest from my PC. And it's a strategy game, right? And I was able to do it. And the coolest thing about StarCraft is it measures your APM, your actions per minute. So you have an actual metric that tells you how efficient you are. And at my PC, I'm 60 actions per minute. For my Quest downstairs, 21. So I'm a third as effective, right? Using kind of drag and drop with the selection of the touch controls and all that. But just a correction there as well. I was wrong. I was confusing with Republique, which for my brain, it has a similar art style.
It does,
to Augmented Empire. Yeah. But Augmented Empire is one of the better games on Go.
Oh, yeah. It should be on Quest, though.
Yeah,
it should be. I was wondering, like, for like those kind of games like XCOM, would it not be cool if instead of like playing on your screen, you would actually put on a virtual reality headset and you would have this like massive command center, literally like a command center with a big screen, where you then would have to use the controls on it. So actually playing on a screen while you're in virtual reality, but just in an environment that really suits it. I don't think there's any RTS game or like turn-based strategy game that has done something really like that. Like in a minority kind of style that you can like move your troops or like send commands.
Even like something that I really enjoyed, like playing Total War, and then you could, have this overview of your troops, but then also become one of the troops. So you had like the Roman Empire that you built yourself with all these, beautiful cities and stuff like that. And then you could be, sitting on a horse, leading your troops in first person too. So switching from third to first. I think in VR, that's amazing. Because it then shows up the scale in such a different way. It's epic.
Yeah, I'm trying to rattle my brain here now. There were a couple of titles by E. McNeil that were quite HUD overarching based, and I'm trying to rattle my brain if Astreus or any of those were like that. There's been a few games like Homeworld as well. But I don't know. It's a very difficult balance between fun and like too much real life command center, I think from Rowdy's idea.
The twin stick shooter that I was talking about earlier is Landfall. That's what it was. It was a really cool little game, actually. If you like Command and Conquer, it kind of had that aesthetic, but it was a twin stick shooter, and I really enjoyed it.
The dev studio behind that go under?
It's it's something with lightning, whatever. It's the guys who made, I think,
Babylon? No,
I think they made Damaged Core too.
Okay, interesting.
Let me just look that up.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, that's interesting though. You got into XCOM 2. Have you been playing with the Chosen DLC?
I'm just playing the regular game now. I do have the DLC as well, but I haven't played the...
I like how these two are having a very intimate, this is like a Valentine's Day meal, these two guys. You just see Mike's face light up anytime a strategy game comes up. I love it.
I love strategy games.
And all the time anytime I get a DM from Mike, it's like 50% chance it's about a strategy game.
As long as it's not too hard. Well, XCOM is actually quite hard, even on the easier difficulty.
Oh yeah, it is hard, and it's punishing as well.
Yeah, but as long as it stays fun, then I'm okay with that.
The best thing to do is name your soldiers after family members or friends. So when they die, it really is horrific because you're like, oh my god, this. It's awesome, man. I love that game.
So
it's awesome.
So Landfall was published by Oculus Studios.
Yes,
it was made by Force Field.
Force Field.
Yeah. Legit studio. Yeah.
I don't know, but XCOM is that not a bit like the Mario and Rabbids game that came out?
Yeah, exactly.
Mario and Rabbids, it's funny, I never played XCOM. I still remember being in the Caribbean. We had this one shop that had XCOM, and I remember ogling. You remember when you're a kid, you ogle over something? You're like, that box, eventually I'll save up the money and I'll be able to get that. And I remember later, when I was like, there were certain albums that I was like, I will not pirate music. I will go buy CDs, and it was funny. Like I used to ogle over these things, but XCOM was one of those series. I literally never played it, but I ogled it for like 15 years straight.
Yeah, I played all the original games. I remember getting XCOM
cool.
for my birthday. Yeah.
Well, if I do want like a new game for the Labo VR kit, because it's been a while, it would be Rabbids. Yeah,
Rabbids.
Maybe also the Goose game. That would be fun in VR too.
Can you imagine a VR adaptation of the Goose game? That would be incredible.
What, that you're in first person, that you're like a goose?
And you have to like open your mouth to honk.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, that would be fun. Honk. I like that.
Okay, we've gone a bit on a tangent here, so apologies. So what was your highlight this week, Zim? What have you been up to?
My highlight, God, it's hard because I've got to choose between three. It was like Boneworks, Saints and Sinners, and O-Shape. O-Shape was loads of fun. You guys have heard me going on and on and on about, playing games with my wife in that kind of side-by-side format that we've got. But I kind of want to talk about Saints and Sinners just because it took me 3 separate play sessions to realize that I could click a spot on the map to progress to the next level. I was bashing my head against the wall again and again and again, thinking like, where do I find the dinghy or whatever I need to go to the next level? I've got the 2 dinghies. I'm in the first area with the big mansion. I'm like, I can't get to the next place, and I'm just like, maybe I'll just try pressing on this. I'm like, it just teleported me. I just wasted 4 hours of my life because of this map. Anyway, so it's great. It's
is
fantastic.
That like bad game design, or is that just you being a caveman, not understanding how to actually?
I don't know. It's one of those problems when you try something, you don't have success. Like I remember trying to teleport via pressing this button. It didn't work for me. So my brain was like, that's not going to be it. On that little map. Yeah, the little map that you get. And I mean, this is such a small, minute little thing. I'm not going to focus in on just that, but I just wanted to share my pain a little bit.
Wait, so the game is bad? So we finally found something. We found something about this game that isn't good.
The crouching is it. The crouching is great. Natural crouching is in, which is fantastic.
Oh, is it in? I didn't even know that.
It's in. So, like, if there's like a shuttered garage that you've got to walk into and climb a ladder or something, you crouch down just in real life, and it will put you in that slow down, quieter mode or whatever. And as you stand up, it comes out of it. And I found it to be perfect. It worked very, very well. I just love the kind of panic that you run into. Like, I'd forgotten. You go away from a game, you come back, and you forget the dangers. Like, I hadn't died in my first playthrough because I'd remembered. I'd listened to the tutorial. I brought weapons with me. The second time, I just went in like a tourist, and I'm there, like, trying to grab bottles and push zombies back. And, man, those Louisiana ladies, they're not friendly. They're not friendly at all.
You know what I've been wondering? I was like looking at Steam and I saw the game coming by again, because sometimes, I don't know why, but Steam recommends me games that I already have.
Yeah.
But maybe it wants me to buy it for my friends, whatever. But it's an expensive gift though, I gotta say. But so I was like wondering, because they sold these different versions of the game. They also had this collector's edition.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Has anyone actually received one of those? Because I was looking it up on YouTube, seeing if anyone unboxed it or whatever. Because how many times do we get like a collector's edition? Nothing. And then I went to the Steam discussions to see if everyone was angry. No one was, talking about it. So I don't know what's up with that.
Yeah. I did think the physical items were pretty cool, actually. Because obviously the backpack is featured in the trailer, and it looks.
That's true, but you haven't received it yet, so you don't know the quality or whatever.
No, but I like the fact that it like doubled up as a headset carry case.
Yeah, I do.
It was a smart move, and
totally.
it was the first time I think we've seen something like that. So if you did get that bundle and you've got any pictures of it, please tag us in Twitter, because we'd love to see the pictures of it. Yeah, for sure.
I just find it crazy that we had like a VR game that had like almost like a Dead Island hype trailer that matured into a game that's as equally as good as the trailer. Like, that to me is still blowing my mind a little bit. True. Like, the fact that Saints and Sinners is in the top, I don't know, 5 or 7 on Steam already, or still. And I was looking through the list. It's like, all right, shooters, slicers, and stabbers. Like, that's what's in the top 10 of Steam.
And it kind of came out of nowhere, that trailer, because I remember that when we first saw it, we were a bit like, oh, there's another
Walking Dead.
Even the gameplay that was like, on the internet. But I think what's most impressive is that they went from, of course, Archangel was pretty good already, but they went from that to this. That's like a big step
That's
forward.
a big step.
Yeah.
Design-wise as well,
Although
because Archangel
I
wasn't
really
bad.
liked Archangel.
Yeah, me too.
Story-wise and everything was good.
Yeah.
And it's great that, you know, Saints and Sinners is still like ranked very highly in terms of like VR games in the Steam charts right now. So it's doing well for them as well, which is good to hear.
I like so this will be the last thing I say. Like, I like the fact that they went like balls to the wall, totally full on in with the not just the graphics, but like the grotesque. And they're not like going crazy. You're not like shooting somebody and they're like squirting blood all over your screen or something stupid like that. Like, it's a fair reflection of a very rough situation to be in. And I love it for that reason. I love that a zombie game can feel that good. The only thing that now my soul is pining for is a multiplayer experience like that.
Yeah.
Like, that's a single player experience. Think if you had buddies in that. Like, oh man. I mean, especially after we got the fucking news that Left 4 Dead isn't being made. Come on, modders, work on this, please. Anyway, that was my pitch for the week, Mike.
Awesome. What about you then, Nathy? What you been up to then, dude?
Yeah, so looping back to Mike's intros, I have three here that I collected. Yes.
Thank you.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah, I'm more than ready.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Sure. So, first one from PD, our one and only mod, one of the mods, but the chosen one.
Well, be careful because you might get fired after this. So.
That's true. Yeah. Hi, I'm Mike, the scientist guy from Half-Life.
That's true, actually. A lot of people have said that. So, funny fact is that when I scream, apparently I sound like the scientist from Half-Life. Go and check out my Half-Life in VR
Can
video.
you scream for us, Mike? Just scream for us.
I can't do it like randomly. You have to go and check out the video. But there was a lot of comments specifically about that on my playing Half-Life on the Quest video. Yeah.
So the next one is from Flippo side. Okay, here we go. Mikey McMikey from Oasis.
Mikey McMikey. It's like what Boaty McBoatface. Mikey McMike face.
Yeah, and then the last one is from Mighty Quinn. The Godfather of VR. What do you think about that?
Mighty Quinn.
Oh, that's what he said. I thought he was referring to himself as the Godfather of VR.
No, that's it. That's just the intro.
Yeah, I felt like what was it like? I need the cotton balls in my mouth, you know, and like a rocking chair and a pipe or something.
Hey, Sonny.
Yeah. You boys, you know what to do.
Hey, family, don't disappoint me, I won't make you an offer you can't refuse.
It does feel like a VR family, We've spent every weekend together for like over 2 years now, so
I thought you were going to say we're a mafia.
Well, no, I wouldn't go that far, no. But I probably spent more time with you guys on the weekend than my family, so I would consider us a VR family at this point.
Correct my memory, and never having successfully played a 4-player game together, have we?
Never,
no. Right? Never.
I think the closest we came was when me, you, and Rowdy played Rec Room together, the quests.
Yeah, that was the 4 of us, no?
Oh, was it the 4 of us?
Was it the 4 of us? We went into Altspace together.
Oh yeah, we
for a party because we had our
we did a Rec Room all together. For sure.
That was great.
Okay.
The bus, I remember the bus.
Yeah, the bus, the party bus. We should do that again.
Stairway to Heaven and that stuff.
And there's a game that we're going to be talking about later on in the show that I have approached the lads to play, so we're going to talk more about that later on.
Yes.
So let's also go into the chat real quick of what people have been playing. We have Eric Hartley. He played Blind Spot, super realistic, and the scary driving simulator. Yeah, you remember where Zim was the Pinocchio of this show? Yeah, go back to the previous
trolled
episode.
us.
Enjoy. It's a great troll. I still like it. Then we have a Swift who finally jumped into Stormland. Apparently there's a sale right now. I don't know the price, but it's on sale. So if you're interested, maybe check that out. Then we have Watto UK finally completed Asgard's Wrath and kicked Loki's butt without any PC incident.
That's good.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Also played GTA 5 on the Pimax and a steering wheel.
Lot of
Nice
fun.
combination. Then we have a Quack played Until You Fall. I fell a lot.
It's a hard game, man. It's hard.
I still want to play that. I've got that. That's in my must-play queue,
Then Davo 1000, real VR fishing and poker stars on the Oculus Quest. Last but not least, we also have Dave the Psycho. And, funny enough, I was actually waiting for him to, put his, the games that he played in the chat, but he wasn't there, so I had to wait. And then I got this comment from him saying, "I overslept. LOL. Hi everyone."
Dave the Psycho lets us down.
So that's the chat. I'm just gonna keep it short because we're a passionate bunch of folks, but we gotta move on to some other subjects too. So I played Ghost Giant on the Oculus Quest. Looks great, plays great, well optimized, super awesome. Comes very close to the PlayStation VR release, and it's out next week, I think, February 20. Awesome story. If you're looking for something kind of like in the Moss vibes, but then without the combat, but it is third person meets first person, then go check it out, look it up.
I got a question for you on this one because I'm really curious that we don't often have it where you go from PlayStation to Quest, a higher resolution, a higher fidelity display. Yeah. Does it look sharper, crisper, etc.? Because I was wondering if Ghost Giant would look really nice with all the little miniature scale buildings and stuff in Quest. Compared to PSVR, is there a notable difference?
Yeah, let's say if we're talking about the hardware, of course. But that makes sense. If you talk about just graphics alone without headsets, then it's very similar because the style of the game is not that demanding. Although when I look back my video I made of Ghost Giant on PSVR, I noticed that the ghost hands are less transparent on Quest. It's the little effects that are missing, and also the sunlight that shines through the trees, or it's more the little things that kind of finish it up are missing on the Quest. But it's not a deal breaker in any way. But that's something that is not there. But who cares?
And it's a beautiful game as well. I actually finished it from start to finish on the PSVR and really loved it. And I thought it was interesting that it tells a really important story about mental health that is really surprising. You don't really think that of a game like this when you see it originally. But it does it in a really clever and sort of charming way. And I would definitely recommend checking it out for sure.
Yeah, it's one of those hidden gems that deserves a spotlight from the media in general, because it's one of those titles that promotion-wise maybe not the most sexy one to go for, but it's still super important to share. No, it's an awesome title.
Yeah, really glad that it's coming to Quest. Do we know if it's coming to PC as well, or not sure?
I expect so. Okay. People have been that's something I've seen, and this is a good question to kind of end with. Is that so now, if you have a Quest, you can play Oculus Rift games. If you have, of course, a powerful computer and an Oculus fiber cable or USB 3 cable, whatever. But what about the other way around? Would it be fair to do it the other way around?
Yeah, that's a good point. Especially if this game doesn't come to Rift, which I'm not sure if it will or not. Highly likely that it does. But yeah, you're right. If the Rift owners are missing out because it's a Quest exclusive, that kind of sucks.
Yeah, and it would fill up the library of the Rift as in a nice way at the moment. So I think it would be a good trade. I don't know how that would work.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have to have your Quest sitting there? Is it doing the processing and then you're just picking it up as a stream off of a PC VR headset? Or are you talking about just the software being emulated? Because I was thinking that an emulator level, we'd have if you wanted to play an old SNES game or something like that, it's rather easy to just build the software interface that has the same connectors, and then you play the perfect game, but through this other. It seems like it would be viable. Yeah.
Although it does depend on what it is. I would be fine with playing Ghost Giant on my Oculus Rift if it was the Quest version. But then with, for example, a game like Death Lab, I'm like, this is just too simple for my taste. So,
although, like I mentioned last week with Phantom, there being two different versions, a Quest version and a PC version. I would like that the Ghost Giant did have a PC version that looked better and took advantage, like you say, of the little details that were.
Yeah, but let's say if they were not planning to do it, then you're never gonna play it. So
that's a shame. Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
I think they will do it though.
Yeah.
I still want a PSVR emulator for desktop though. That's the dream. That's the real dream.
So you can play. So you can play Space Channel 5 on your Quest.
Yeah, exactly. I have played that.
I know.
It's a fun game.
I'll get into what I got into this week. So firstly, I was interviewed by Anthony from VR 365. I was on his show, which was a lot of fun, actually. It was interesting to be on a show as a guest rather than hosting a show for a change. Really unusual. First time this ever happened. So that was a lot of fun. So if you want to go and check out that interview, go and check out VR 365, and you should find it when you.
Oh, you've never done that before, Mike? That's your first time?
Never. Huh. No, first time. So yeah, it was a unique situation to be in. It was fun. I enjoyed myself. So it was nice just to get kind of questions fired at me for a change, which was interesting. Yeah. But my highlight of the week this week was playing Pavlov on the Quest.
Oh shit!
And I know, like Pavlov is like one of Rowdy's, favorite games.
Yeah.
And I've known it's been available on the Quest, via sideloading for some time, but I hadn't really spent a lot of time playing it. So I jumped in and played with Gamertag VR, who we've had on the show before. So played with him in a lot of the multiplayer maps. And the thing is, you need to be aware of that there's no matchmaking right now. So you kind of just have to jump into the game together at the same time and hope for the best.
Okay.
And because the servers aren't like, they're not particularly busy, like when we were playing, morning in the UK, we were lucky enough to get into the matches together most of the time. And we found that using Discord with Bluetooth headphones and microphones really helped with communication. So that's the way I'd recommend it for the time being. But what I was surprised about was that it actually holds up really well. All the gun handling mechanics are there, although the textures don't look quite as nice. But all the maps are intact, and the game modes as well. Like you've got search and destroy, which is where you plant the bomb and then someone has to defuse the bomb, a bit like old school Counter-Strike. You've got TTT, which I know Rowdy plays a lot, which is like, was it Trouble in Terrorist Town?
Yeah.
Where you have to work out who's the traitor. You've even got a zombie mode in there now, like an official zombie mode.
Amazing.
And then my favorite, which was Gun Game. I really loved Gun Game. I thought that was great. Yeah. And basically how that works is you start with a gun. As soon as you kill someone, your gun is upgraded, and basically you keep rolling with that. So each time you kill someone, your gun is upgraded.
So you get the golden knife.
The golden knife.
Is it also that when someone else knives you, you go back one step?
You don't go back. No,
okay.
You don't go back. Which is useful.
Sad. I didn't know there was a golden knife at the end because I've never gotten it.
I've never got to the end. No, that's true. Me neither.
So how's the performance? Because you say like it maybe doesn't look so nice, but the physics are there and everything. So how's the performance on?
Yeah, so Gamertag made it.
Sure.
Yeah, like it runs really nice. Gamertag made a really funny comment that it looked like you were playing like a PS1 game in VR, which is true. When you look at some of the maps, sometimes it's really rough. But like I said, previously, you quickly forget all that when you get immersed into the game and you're, racking your gun after reloading. So it's really fun, and I would recommend anyone that's got a Quest, to go check it out because it is free after all. And I would say that sideloading it using SideQuest is the easiest method right now. And in there, you've also got settings to change your name in game, so you can actually give your own name.
Yes.
But yeah, because I think the thing is they are planning on releasing the game officially on the Oculus Store later this year, and I know they had some troubles like last year with whether they were going to get on the Oculus Store or not, but they are working on it now. But it's just a question of when. But I think this free version, will disappear once the official version goes live. Put it that way.
Makes sense.
Yeah. What about it? Won't just be superseded by the existing version?
Or maybe they'll strip it down to a single map and single game mode just so you can get a taste for it. But because it is essentially the full game is for free right now. That's what it is. So
it's
I
a
can't
good
see
point. Yeah, I see. But I mean, how do you? I suppose you just take the servers offline.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. And the other thing I should mention is that the PC version, in terms of differences, obviously looks better, but also has Steam Workshop integration. So you do get like fan-made maps and modes, which is really, really fun. And you don't get that on Quest right now.
Correct.
Although they're working on matchmaking and these features in the future, so you never know.
Yeah. Is there any other dev studio who has plans to start making their game ready for Quest, like Contractors, Onward?
Contractors and Onward are both working on bringing the game to Quest.
Yeah.
But no confirmation if they will actually be allowed to be on the store.
Onward has it, I think.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure both have been given the green light.
Onward should be able to pull that off with their relationship they have.
Yeah, and I think we were told a while ago about Onward coming to Quest, and I know that Contractors, there is a build, actually, playable build that you could get access to if you contact the devs directly. I think other people have been playing it. I think Gamertag said he played it on Quest previously, so yeah. they will be coming to Quest eventually. So then it will be a fight if they all release around the same time.
Yeah,
Who comes out on top?
Because right now there's not really a competitive shooter on there yet.
No.
Like Dead and Buried was kind of the, but
it was a letdown,
still talks about that one. But
there's one, right? Fucking gun shop, gun store. I don't remember the name of it. It's a single player though. A single player shooter.
Yeah, but there isn't like a game to scratch that itch if multiplayer is really your vibe. So yeah, I'd totally recommend Pavlov. A lot of fun, and also the microphones worked. Although we was using Discord, you could use the Quest microphones to communicate with your colleagues, which worked well enough, I think.
It's actually such a nice thing that with most VR headsets, like everything is like integrated. Like you know that your users will have a microphone. You know that they'll have audio.
Yeah.
It's like I think it's nice to develop for something like that.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, go and check out Pavlov, totally free, available on SideQuest. So let's get into some news then. First bit of news this week is that there's an excellent deal on some VR games from the lovely people over at Humble Bundle. So for the next 10 days, you can get the following VR games for just £11.50 or $15 US. This is a total bargain, by the way. You get Smashbox Arena, which is from the same devs that are currently making Population 1.
Oh, yeah.
You get
That's a pure multiplayer, right?
Pure multiplayer, yeah. You get Cosmic Trip. You get Gorn. Subscription to Gorn Hub, which is amazing.
Yeah, that's...
Whoa. Subscription to Gorn Hub.
Gorn Hub, yeah, Gorn Hub.
What the heck is Gorn Hub?
Oh, Rowdy introduced.
Is this just a joke? Mike never jokes.
It's a joke.
Oh, God.
It's a joke.
Okay. It's a very old video of mine.
So you get Smashbox Arena, Cosmic Trip, Gorn, Budget Cuts, Space Pirate Trainer, Moss, and Superhot. All for £11.50 or $15 US.
Very nice.
Amazing deal.
The only one that I just don't think should be in the list is Smashbox. It's like super random, but I mean, yeah, maybe they were.
But that's what they do with these kind of like bundles, right? They make you like appetize for like a few titles and they throw in another one.
That's true.
Just to like get.
I do wonder though, like because as I said, it's a pure multiplayer. I do know for a fact that they were really try-harding to get people in there with new updates all the time, but in the end, it just went too complete. It's a ghost town as far as I know. But now with this Humble Bundle, maybe there's like some activity in there.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. There was a bit of confusion though, especially with Quest owners, because a lot of these games are obviously on Quest now, and people were like, "Oh, can I get this on the Quest?" This is obviously a great deal if you were a Quest owner, you could get these games because the Quest versions are obviously a little bit higher normally. But no, sadly, that's not the case. These are for Steam keys, which are PC versions of the game.
It's kind of annoying for people with a Quest to not really know very clearly when something is crossed. It's like, oh yeah, we saw the dev saying it on social media this, or where like there is no system that really tells you
whether it's crossed by. Yeah. It's just a question of whether you know or not through Reddit or through the grapevine.
I'm sure so many people have already bought so many games that in the end were not.
Yeah, it's interesting there's not a public like inventory, even a Wikipedia page. Like early on when games were starting to launch for VR, different Wikipedia sites were popped up and would tell you, what platforms were supported with certain games and release dates and things like that. But that's gotten overwhelmed. That is no longer useful.
Well, the thing is, a developer needs to actually clarify it on social media somewhere to make sure everyone knows. But you can't just, when you put the store up on Oculus, for example, edit that. There's no tab or anything. So yeah, that should definitely be added.
It's not listed, right? It's not listed as a characteristic on the store page.
No.
Yeah, that's in Oculus's hands. They need to fix that.
Yeah. The great thing is though, if you just bought a Valve Index, for example, for Half-Life Alyx, and you're waiting, which we'll be talking about very shortly, these are some great games to keep you busy in the meantime, and really cheap as well.
Well, you mean a Valve Index for like around $2,000 at the moment?
Well, that's true. We're going to touch on that very shortly.
Like I've even seen one for $3K, but
it's crazy. Yeah. Just going back to the Humble Bundle though, another little bonus is that if you do buy this bundle for the full price, you also get additional soundtracks as a bonus for Cosmic Trip, Gorn, and Space Pirate Trainer. Space Pirate Trainer's got an epic soundtrack as well, so it's worthwhile.
And Cosmic Trip, like I'm sure a lot of people are like Cosmic Trip. What? Who? What? It's a really fun game.
Yeah.
Actually, Humble Bundle, I only ever learned about Humble Bundle because of soundtracks. Because I'm a huge fan of like Humble Bundle soundtrack compositions. There's some amazing soundtracks you've been able to pick up there throughout the years. But they once did a soundtrack pack, which was like 15 different games, and I didn't know anything about the games, but you get the games and the soundtracks, and I was like, I don't care about the games, I just want the music. So even for something like this, now the bonuses, those soundtracks, do they come in even if you pay $1 or whatever? I think it is.
I'm not sure. Not sure. I think it might be if you buy the full thing. But also on top of this, you know, like apart from this bundle aside, Humble Bundle also sell individual VR games, and they've also got some heavily discounted games there as well. So go and check it out. We've added a link in the description down below, by the way, if you want to go and browse some games while you're watching the show.
This is like, I don't see many VR games in the Humble Bundle store. I used to really buy loads of games, also even giving it away to friends, kind of like or saving them up for later. This is like the third one, maybe. It's super rare. I never see this stuff on Humble Bundle.
Yeah. And the great thing is, like, say if you do own one of these games or a couple of these games, if you buy the bundle, you can give away the Steam keys to your friends, or you know, I've seen a lot of people giving them away on Reddits and Discords, which is really nice of the community to sort of share the love a little bit.
So this means that VR is slowly going mainstream, because even Humble Bundle thinks VR is relevant now.
It's growing for sure. I wouldn't say mainstream yet, but growing for sure.
Oh, we're getting there.
Yeah, don't be so positive, Nathan.
Yeah. Sorry. Oh yeah. Okay. Let's go back to.
But you know, to get you back on the hype train, let's talk about Half-Life Alyx, because that was the huge news this week. You know, the news that we've all been waiting for, and that is the release date, because we knew it was coming in March, but we didn't know exactly when. But Valve tweeted out this week that Half-Life Alyx will be launching on Monday, the 23rd of March, which is just over 5 weeks away now. Not long to wait at all. Exciting times. And it's on a Monday, which is strange, I think.
Thank God that they. I didn't expect them to really, you know, have a release date so quickly. To be honest,
no.
So I was like, oh, finally I know something, because you know, for my work and stuff like that, it's like sometimes I want to go somewhere, but like I was like on complete lockdown for next month because I couldn't.
Do you think there's still a possibility that they'll postpone it or delay it?
Not now. And, you know, Valve time has become like a bit of a meme. But I think now that they've announced the date, they're going to stick to it, I think.
I'm really curious. Would there be any I mean, we're talking digital sales and distribution, right? I'm thinking about things that might interrupt their flow to be able to release. At this stage, no doubt the code is locked.
I think the game is finished.
You know, they're just doing patches, if anything, at this stage. Yeah. But is there anything in terms of the physical world that would prevent them from release at the moment, aside from like the campus getting infected with coronavirus and shut down? It kind of feels like the release is going to happen. It's not tied to any manufacturing like hardware releases is. So I'm with Mike. I don't think it is going to have a chance for delay.
But, you know, Nathan made a good point earlier about the Valve Index being out of stock, because that is a problem for them, because they're releasing this epic game, which is a flagship game for them, but their hardware isn't available to buy right now, and it hasn't been available since Christmas.
Which is a good sign.
Which is great, but I wonder if they're losing sales and people are impatient and they're going out and buying a Rift S or another headset instead, you know, while they wait. I don't know. It'll be interesting to know what kind of impact this has, but hopefully they'll be able to get some more stock in just before the game launches. Get the hype up again.
What I thought was really funny, because they announced it on Twitter, and they announced it, of course, on Steam in their blog post, and they also added some screenshots to it. And apparently, like, I didn't see it. There was like this, they had missing textures in their screenshots, but they also didn't know when they posted it. And like, there is like, just look for it. I'm not gonna tell you where it is, but there is like this error thing somewhere. It always reminds me of like Gmod for some reason when I see that red error thing blinking, you know. But that's something they put in there by accident.
Yeah.
So like that means it's not completely ready yet.
It's like a Where's Wallet. You know, you have to find it in the picture.
Yeah.
You know.
Challenge accepted.
But the other cool thing is that if you do buy, or you bought the Index or the Knuckles, you know, because you also get the game for free if you just bought the Knuckles, is that you get free Steam environments, which will be releasing very soon, you know, before the game launches, that you'll be able to go into those Steam environments and have a look around some of the assets that they've created for Half-Life Alyx before the game launches. So that's going to be kind of interesting.
That's only if you bought the VR headset or the Knuckles.
Or the Knuckles.
Not if you, for example, pre-purchased the game.
Oh yeah, of course. If you pre-purchase the
okay.
game as well, you will as well. I think. Yeah, of course.
That would be naughty of them if they didn't give that.
I was like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Screw you guys! You only bought the game. You didn't buy our fancy headset. It's no longer available.
Wow,
Yeah.
it's an expensive home.
Expensive home environment.
Yeah. But one thing that I should mention and should talk about is that we've now got some details in terms of hardware stats from the Steam hardware surveys, which I found today. I don't know when this was updated, but it must have been recently because they recently added the Valve Index to their stats now. So between the August in 2018 and January 2020, these are the most popular headsets used on Steam, and I'll work my way from the bottom to the top. So,
Oh boy, bottom. Whoa, can we guess?
so this is 0.01% users of Steam are using this headset, and that is the Huawei VR headset. I
the heck is that?
They make one?
Didn't even know they had a VR
Huawei
headset.
had a headset.
So I guess this must be in China. I don't know.
Because, as I said, Steam is like you can use it in China.
And do we know how many people this is tested on? Did they
No, so
disclose
this
that
is
information?
I think this is just percentage of like users. I think they've got Steam VR installed or something similar like that.
Sorry,
I'm not
this
quite
data
sure.
comes from the Steam hardware survey
Yeah,
that comes
this is
out?
official data
So,
from Steam.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
official.
Because
It's
they
the
publish
one
that regularly.
that people filled in the survey, right? But we don't know. how
No,
many
you
people
have
filled it
to.
in.
No.
So no. So when you log in on Steam, you can say like, "Hey, I want to share that data," or "I don't." So, for example, I share my
It's
data.
collected.
So
Yeah.
But there are also a lot of people who do not do that. So that's like the blind.
Yeah, so we don't know what the total number is then.
But it gives a good metric, I think. Gives a good
Yeah,
idea.
maybe
of course.
unsurprising that the Huawei users are not allowing them to spy on them.
0.01%. So 0.06% is the HTC Vive Cosmos.
Oh, god damn it. That hurts.
So it is
Ow.
alive.
It is alive, but not doing very well.
Wow.
Next up is 0.08% is the Oculus Rift DK1.
Yeah, thought so.
So there's more
I love
DK1
that
users
sound.
on Steam VR than there is
And the
HTC
Vive
Vive Cosmos
Cosmos.
Oh,
users.
amazing.
That's crazy.
Amazing.
That's crazy.
That's
I
Palmer
really-
popping a cork right there.
Yeah.
Drink that champagne, buddies.
That's cool.
So next is 0.41% is the Oculus Rift DK2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
In at 2.01% is the HTC Vive Pro. 7.22% is the Valve Index. And I think, for a headset that's only been out, 6 months? A little bit longer?
But that's normally
It
right.
shows another
Yeah,
problem
six,
for HTC
7 months.
Vive though.
Yeah, pretty
Because
good.
that means that people rather buy the Valve Index than they buy the HTC Vive Pro, which I think makes sense.
Yeah, although the Vive does do pretty well, which I'll come on to shortly. 8.05% is Windows Mixed Reality, so that includes all the different headsets from the different manufacturers. 24, this is a big jump now, so from 8% to 24.34% is Oculus Rift S.
Yeah.
So that's a really big jump.
That
So,
one's been
1 and 4.
growing like bananas.
Yeah.
A lot of
And
people
I-
are buying the Rift S. And
I
for
also
good
want
reason.
a
It's
4 then.
accessible.
And also the fact that the Oculus home store isn't really getting much new content. They go to Steam instead. So that's
But
also
I think
something.
everyone who has an Oculus Rift S also uses Steam.
Probably
though.
uses both. Yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
Next
Yeah.
up, at 26.91% is the original HTC Vive, which is admirable,
the
still
Rift S
holding in,
is catching up with that one as well.
catching
Rift
up.
S is catching
yeah.
up to the original
And
Vive. Yeah.
The number one spot at 30.36% is the original Oculus Rift. Yeah.
How
But
much?
the thing is,
20?
30.36.
30.36.
Yeah,
So
but what you
third.
see is in the image, you see that the Oculus Rift and the old HTC Vive are slowly being squashed down, so their numbers will slowly be replaced over time.
What I get from this is that 1 in 2 people uses the Oculus Rift, uses a Rift.
Yeah, it's a shame
Either
that
the Oculus Rift or the Rift S.
Yeah, the metric that we don't have now, which I hope to have in the future now that they've changed the logo on Steam, is that users using Quest with a link cable. Hopefully we'll get those stats in the future.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah. So there's some hardware stats for you to sort of chew on and enjoy. But let's move on then. Next bit of news this week is about another Pancake game that's had the VR mod treatment. I know that a few of us have been enjoying the GTA 5 VR mod over the past couple of weeks.
There was no Pimax at all on that list. I just realized.
It's not mentioned. It's not listed.
They don't collect data of the Pimax.
Is that true?
That'd
Yeah,
be
because
interesting.
I've never seen it in the list before.
I think I did.
But you make a really valid point.
I think I did a couple of years ago. I think I saw Pimax.
Yeah. Strange that it's not there.
Yeah, it's weird.
Weird. Yeah. Good point, though. I didn't even think about that.
I also didn't see the 3D head in there.
Well, that's for good reason.
Yeah.
Was that ever usable by consumers?
Yeah. I heard that Ben Lang is gonna play Half-Life with it soon.
The only thing you need a neck brace afterwards to support your head. So yeah, let's talk about this next bit of news because a lot of us enjoyed GTA 5 in VR. It's obviously a mod of a Pancake game, but this new game has just been given the same treatment, and it piqued my interest a little bit. And it's a game on Steam called GTFO, which stands for Get the F Out.
Oh, I thought it was something GTA related, but it's not.
Did they steal our F? Did they take our F? I swear.
RF.
Get the
F
lawyers.
is open up to interpretation. We never really confirmed that that's what it meant.
No, you
Leave a bit of
think-
mystery out there.
Furniture.
you know?
Get the furniture out, right? Get the furniture out before it floods. This is good antiques. Get the furniture out.
Don't listen to the Pinocchio of this show. That
Welcome to
was
Furniture
maybe,
Reality. This is Furniture
Get the
Reality.
furniture out. Brilliant. So this game, Get the Furniture Out, is a co-op 4-player first-person shooter with the focus being on team play and atmosphere in a nightmarish sci-fi horror setting. I can't get the idea of like them moving furniture out of that place now. You ruined it for me.
Great
Zim.
game. Great game. Flood's coming. Flood's coming.
Okay. So from what I've heard about this game, it looks awesome, by the way. Like visually, it looks really great. Like it's got that really dark sort of alien vibe atmosphere to it, which looks cool. I'm down with it totally. But from what I've heard in terms of the community's response to it is that it's notoriously challenging. It's a very difficult game. Heavily relies on team communication and tactics to actually survive and beat these levels.
That means that we'll probably suck at it.
We're never going to beat this. Never. The creator of the mod, though, because obviously it didn't have VR support when it launched, someone from Reddit, a bit like the GTA 5 mod with Luke Ross 00. This guy's like a Reddit user, hacker, maybe developer in training. He posted the mod on Reddit, and his username is Dirty Spartan, which I thought was a really cool name.
Okay.
But he posted the first version of the mod a couple of weeks ago, and then has been updating it since then to improve it even further. And he's added full room scale support and VR controller support, including with the Valve Index as well. So you get like full one-to-one hand movement in the game, which is really nice. So you can actually aim your weapons down the sights and stuff like that.
So now the reason you want to play it comes out because you want to do something with your index controllers. I see how it is. I was thinking about this the other day.
I know, I don't mind. I can play this on any headset. I just thought it'd be kind of cool.
On any headset.
Yeah, you can play it on Quest with Link. You can play it on Rift S.
Cosmos. All right, Mike's going to
Cosmos.
play on Cosmos. The rest of us
Yeah.
going to play on normal
I
headsets.
won't play on the Cosmos. But it's worth noting, like, although this looks like a lot of fun, and I think, it's something that we should definitely try, is that because the game is in early access right now, it doesn't have any matchmaking features, so we can't matchmake as a 4-player team, which is a real shame. So you're just going to get, like, dropped in with a bunch of randoms and play with them. Yeah, so it's just a case of a bit like Pavlov I talked about earlier with Quest. There's no matchmaking system. Yeah, so it would be difficult to organize a game with just VR players, for example, using the mod, which is a shame. So it's a bit rough and ready right now. Still early days, but it's just the atmosphere and the way the game looks kind of drew me in, and might be someone else's jam as well. So if you don't mind something that's a bit janky, I think you're going to need a high-end system to run this, a bit like the GTA 5 mod. Then you can go and check it out. We've linked to the GitHub page in the description, which you can download the mod for, which is free. I think the game's like $20-$30. So if you're interested,
I've never heard of this game. It's like an
No, me
indie,
neither, actually.
I think.
indie
right?
game, but it's got a lot of response from the community because of the challenge involved. I think people really like that challenge and the atmosphere makes it look like a scary, funky sci-fi game.
It's sci-fi Left 4 Dead as the
and basically
it's a lot similar to there's those games where there's like 4 players and the 5th player is trying to murder everybody else. It kind of gives me that vibe as well. It's like a mix, a blend between those two, and maybe some Alien Isolation in there. But it's funny because you linked a trailer or something midweek, and I looked at it on my phone and I was like, this looks terrible. But seeing the actual game trailer, I don't know how those are different. I agree with you. It looks very atmospheric. Volumetric fog, I will always love since Quake 3 Arena. Always love that. And dying to scary things in dark VR games is my jam. So hopefully it stabilizes and we do get something good out of this. For some reason, and this makes no sense because it has nothing to do with the game we just saw, you just triggered this memory of mine from about a year ago. We were talking about Project Wingman, which is a flying game, an indie game that was supposed to come to VR like months ago. I don't know. I'll check up on that and see where we are with that, because that was a project that I was really interested in. It was going to be single player. As I said, it has nothing to do with this. I don't know why it just triggered my brain, but you did. So
roll with it. Yeah.
There you go.
But yeah, if you like the look of like walking into a room full of like the witches from Left 4 Dead, that's kind of what this is like, because all the creatures, like I think
I love that.
Their vision is based on sound or something like that. So kind of unique game.
That's what I want.
Yeah. So once it's got matchmaking, we'll give it a go and we'll let you know what it's like.
You just gave the perfect little, like yesterday being Valentine's Day, and you said like rooms full of witches. I can just imagine that's like all the dudes who forgot about Valentine's Day and they walked into the room and that's what they encountered. It's just a forgot Valentine's Day simulator, really.
That's what you get. Yeah. If you forget,
that's what you get.
That's what you get. So next up, we got some information about the acquisition deal of Insomniac games by Sony. This is interesting because we obviously knew that Sony, acquired Insomniac. Didn't really get any details as to how much it cost.
Yeah, we officially had like a funeral on the podcast for Stormland in a way.
Yeah, I'm gonna touch on that very shortly. Yeah, and they've been, Insomniac. They've been responsible for a few specifically Oculus exclusive VR titles, such as Edge of Nowhere, which was really really
so
fun
good.
game. That was before motion controllers came out, touch controllers.
Also needs to be on Quest.
Hell
Would
yeah.
be a fun one to play on Quest. Yeah, it's like it was a gamepad game back then.
Actually,
it's like a third-person action game, but in VR.
That's fine.
Where is Chronos for Quest? Like Gunfire Games. Come on, get that converted. I mean, that's totally doable.
Yeah, good point. They also
Lazy
made
bunch.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, that escalated quickly.
They also made Feral Rights, The Unspoken,
Feral
and
Rights.
that was a bad game, unfortunately. And most recently, like Nathy rightly said, the highly anticipated Stormland.
Yes.
So back in August last year, Sony announced that it was purchasing Insomniac. And in a recent sort of financial report, it was disclosed that Sony paid $229 million for the studio.
Damn.
Yeah, that's a lot of bucks right there. So
229 million. Yeah.
Yeah, but to be fair to Insomniac, they were very close to Sony. They have been ever since they've established themselves as a studio with like Ratchet and Clank. Most recently, the Spider-Man game, which did super well for PlayStation as well because it was an exclusive.
Oh, Spider-Man was like a crazy good game.
Yeah, and it was exclusive to PlayStation, so it was a win-win for them. But it's a lot of money, but I think they'll probably recoup that back in terms of the quality of the games that they'll be releasing and we'll be seeing on the Sony platform in the future. But going back to Stormland, which is a really good point from Nathy, is that obviously that game released in November, which was after the acquisition. And I praised the game for a few things, like the game mechanics. I thought the story was unique. I thought the climbing and everything else was really fun.
Visuals.
Yeah, everything was pretty good, apart from their concept of the end game state, because it was a short single player game with this promise of a big open world that you can explore cooperatively with friends, and it would kind of almost be like limitless, endless content.
Like we were constantly, like before it came out, we were constantly talking about like this Destiny.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The game that you keep going back to grind to level up, and sadly that just didn't hit its lofty goals, and we all assumed at the time that it was because of this Sony acquisition that the game didn't reach its full potential, which I think is probably fair, to be honest.
I think so, yeah.
They probably did have their heart and soul in this game at one point, and then as soon as the acquisition came and Sony were like, you need to finish this game up because we've got other stuff you need to work on now.
Especially because, and I think that shows the most in a single player game, because the story, like the beginning, it's so good and you get so much reward and character build, and I think that kind of like mellows out a little bit towards the middle and like definitely near the end. That it feels like like they started out with a lot of passion and then indeed like were like forced to like say, okay, wrap it up,
get done now. Yeah, exactly. And it's I understand it to a certain degree. It's just a shame because Stormland did have this a lot of potential. I think it'd be amazing if we were still playing it now, but sadly that's not the case.
It's still a great game, though.
Still a great game.
I still think it's a fantastic game.
Yeah.
It's just like, you put the bar a little bit higher considering the hype.
Well, it's just that the IP could have been used to beyond whatever, and now it's almost like it became like a forgettable thing because of the fact that it's not gonna continue.
Yeah, it's unlikely that we'll ever see another Stormland game, which is a shame. That
reminds me of the there was a PSVR title with mech robots fighting, 3v3 I think, or 2v2. I'm trying to remember the name of it now, but
Rigs.
Rigs. Which is
Guerrilla
another one
games.
of those games which and like Valkyrie, which once you clip its wings, it just kind of plummets. In terms of popularity, people playing it, people talking about it.
Space Junkies is another great example of that. And that's a real shame because that game was so much fun.
It was an expensive.
Yeah. And going back to Humble Bundle, it's actually 75% off individually on Humble Bundle, so you can get it for like £4. They should have released the game, not that price, but not as much as like £40. I think they were charging when it first released. But going back to the Sony thing, I do think it's a smart move from Sony, and it's going to be interesting. Obviously now that we know the PS5 is coming, potentially PSVR 2, that if Insomniac will be using that VR expertise to make something on the PSVR platform in the future, which I'm sure is probably highly likely. So, I think although it's sad what happened to Stormland, I think it's great that we're going to see some hopefully see some great games from Insomniac in VR on the new PlayStation platform in the future.
Well, as long as you give them the space to do it, it's fine.
Yeah, and they're going to be with that much money, they're going to be growing as a studio.
And as long as you don't let them make a brawler, you're fine too.
Yeah, don't make another Feral Rights.
This, I tell you, we're going back in time. I know I sound like an old man now, but when I played Feral Rights, this was one of the first games on the CV1 on the Oculus Rift, the original, that was bad. Okay, and then it was so bad that people said I want my money back, and then Oculus gave people their money back so they could.
I think it was one of the first reasons why people wanted a system for refunds. Like the refund system used to be all over Reddit for a select few titles, but I remember Feral Rights being one of them.
Yeah,
definitely stopped me from picking up the game. No.
Shame. But I'd love to see more games from Insomniac in the future. So fingers crossed. We don't have to wait too long, and we'll see some excellent content coming from them. But yeah, 229 million. That's a lot of money. But great for them, of course.
You want to have a little bit of that?
I'm all right for now. They can keep it. They can keep it for now.
I was going to say, though, how does that compare to other studios? I mean, how do you size up a studio based on the number of employees?
Yeah.
Based on the P&L? How do you approximate
that?
Is that a lot of money? I mean, that's my question is
I'm sure Insomniac probably would have made Sony way more money than that, throughout the history of selling games, because people bought Sony systems because of those games, particularly Spider-Man, for example.
Yeah, but they've been a third party this whole time.
Exactly. But I think we'll see more of this, a bit like Beat Saber with Oculus. I'd love to know how much they paid, for Beat Saber, for example. Might be a while until we get those figures, but I'm sure we're going to see a trend of big companies snapping up these dev studios to secure their IPs for their future products.
So let me give a tip, because I know Mark Zuckerberg is watching this podcast too. If you're smart, you buy Rockstar games. I know it's a lot of money, but I don't think it's that much. But maybe that would be a good start for sure.
The problem is that I don't think that they're for sale.
I don't think so.
Even if they would offer them like 10 billion or 20 billion or whatever, they would just be like.
I think it will probably, their valuation must be around $1 billion. There must be.
They're
if you think about the pedigree of GTA
and their sales, the sales of even GTA 5 is earth-shattering. We're talking when Titanic came out and it was holy shit, this film has done 10 times the views of any other film before it and all that.
So Rockstar's games net worth is over 3.5 billion.
Yeah, so they don't need it. They don't need the money.
That's the thing, yeah. How much money do you need? If Mark Zuckerberg would offer them 20 billion to that would not.
Nah.
Who knows? I'm just
next week.
Next week we'll have a formal business corner where we talk about mergers and acquisitions.
Hey, it was my idea, so I do want to have a share.
You want some of them? You want a percentage cut?
No, even if it's 1%, I think I'm pretty good.
You know what's going to happen? Their CEO is going to come at you in a small electric vehicle and run you over on a beach. That's what's going to happen.
Even 0.01% would be a good deal.
I know.
Okay, right. So final bit of news this week is about the Acer Oho. I know you've all been dying to learn more about this headset.
I'm just going to say, I love how Mike says that.
Oho.
Say it again, Mike.
The Acer Oho.
I haven't heard it in a while. Oho.
But sadly, the Acer Oho has had a no-no.
Oh, no.
What?
Yeah. Because we've talked about this headset a couple of times in the podcast, right? You know, we've talked about the specs.
Just because it sounds so funny.
It sounds funny, yeah. And we've talked about, when it might be releasing, some pricing. Obviously, it was part of the Windows Mixed Reality range. But this week, we got some news via Rotor VR that the Acer Oho project has been completely scrapped, by Acer. Yeah.
How did they find out about that?
So I think Rotor VR got in contact with them directly, and they gave them a quote and basically said that they've scrapped the project.
So someone just had to ask what the status was.
Pretty much, it seems that way, yeah. And obviously, Rotor VR did an article about it. So the Acer Oho, it was planned to be one of the latest mixed reality headsets, and it was competition actually for the recent HP Reverb, which would have been interesting because the HP Reverb was kind of popular with sim enthusiasts.
Whoa! Competition in what space? Enterprise, I guess.
Well, in the fact they had the same high resolution panels, because that was the draw to the Reverb. You know, it's had the same 2160 by 2160 pixels per eye panels, but in terms of price, it would have likely been the same price. A spokesman from Acer simply said to Rotor VR, "We have decided to discontinue the development and production of the Concept D Oho headset." It does really seem that the Windows Mixed Reality range has just been abandoned at this point, I know there's been speculation around this Sony headset, which, I mentioned on a previous podcast that I didn't think was going to come to fruition.
Is it maybe more like they abandoned the current technology that these HMDs were using? I think that's more it, right? Because
I really hope so. Because I think, I'd actually quite like to see a second generation Windows Mixed Reality range, with better specs, better controllers for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. This is very strange and interesting at the same time. I don't know what's up with this stuff.
I'm so not there for Windows Mixed Reality. Since it arrived, I've had my spade out, ready to shovel dirt over its decrepit coffin.
Wow.
They can feck off.
Wow.
Thank you.
Well, you can say... Yeah, okay, sure.
Oh, that's funny because actually, they reached out to the podcast and they were willing to send one, but they're in chat saying now that...
Cancel it. Send it back.
Good.
Luckily, we still have Samsung Germany supporting us, so we're
that's true.
It's just such a messy design is the thing. I think
it is.
They like Cosmos, right? They started off with a design that at its reference model design had substantial flaws in it, and I think they just weren't ready to be out. Irrespective of the mixed reality term, it's as a headset alone in the DK2 era, it was competitive. But the price it released at, with the controllers it released, it just was dead at the door. And you can pick it up for sale prices if you're a racer or a flyer. But other than that, what's its purpose?
But again, the problem that I have with it still is that I still don't get it. Which one is the Windows Mixed Reality headset to really go for? Which ones are the other ones? There's several different tires that you can
officially.
With Oculus and HTC, HTC is not that easy anymore, but they used to have just one product, and you would buy into that one product, and you would buy into that ecosystem. Yeah. But with Windows Mixed Reality, it's a bit like they have different brands making different things, and they're competing with each other, but also with the other non-Windows Mixed Reality headset, and that just makes things so much more complicated than just saying, okay, this is what I get, and this is what I invest in.
I do agree on the side of you don't know which one you should buy because there are so many, but the thing is, this is still an enterprise line of headsets. If you are a consumer, you can buy it, just like all the headsets out there. But it has always been for enterprise.
And so is HTC Pro.
True, that's true. But for example, the HP Reverb, I've seen it at a lot of arcades, getting used with the backpack. Great combination, solid headset. It's just that for consumers, mixed reality is maybe not the. Although there's still people who buy, the Odyssey and also who want to play Half-Life right now, especially with other headsets running out because of certain reasons. there's still a lot of opportunity to
There
buy.
you go. They're the carrion feeder right now of the VR market. Because you can pick up a used headset for $100 or less or something, and it's not a bad thing to look at. I just think that you'd actually be better off going for like a used CV1, honestly, if you were trying to go for it. But then you have to contend with things like dead audio in one of the sides or something like that. It's such a mixed bag. Even a used Vive system might be better for you. But then again, you might get one of those old clunkers. So.
I still think mixed reality, like what there is right now, it's not bad. I think it's fine.
I think the Samsung Odyssey was the best headset out of the lot of them.
And the revision of that as well.
Yeah.
With the blur revision.
Yeah, if you can get one cheap, then that's the one to go for sure. But, I'd like to see them... The reason behind this is that they're moving on to the next generation Windows mixed reality, but I'm doubtful because it just seems like at every opportunity right now Microsoft is turning their nose up at VR.
Isn't the Rift as the next generation MR headset anyways? It's the first.
Yeah.
So instead of tracking is the new standard.
Yeah, there was three. I think there was three main problems why Windows MR didn't do very well. First was the name. I thought Windows mixed reality didn't portray the fact that ultimately it was just a VR headset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If consumers were looking for a VR headset, they didn't understand what this mixed reality thing meant. Yeah. Secondly, was that they didn't use any first-party titles to leverage the platform.
But again, it makes sense in a way, although they kind of made it consumer with the whole Halo thing. Yeah, although, again, like marketing-wise, it's enterprise, so it was super confusing once again.
I still think that the biggest factor is that they had internal competition.
Yeah,
they have internal manufacturers that compete with each other for selling the most Windows mixed reality headset instead of competing with, for example, an Oculus Rift or an HTC Vive or
Wait, we had three points here, right, Mike? So you said bad name.
And the price.
On the price is the third one.
Yeah, the price was actually high. It was
high ridiculous.
Initially. Yeah.
And the thing is, you're not getting value for that price. That's the main thing. Like, look at the Index. The Index, right? Twice the price of a Rift, but you get features with it that you are paying for. And we know in VR space, right? There's plenty of enthusiasts who are willing to save up their pennies, not eat for a week, so they can afford that. Yeah. If you do that with that headset, you've paid a premium for something that's equivalent, and you can get for less.
Yeah, and
I think the problem. Sorry,
go on.
I think the problem is also like with all the other headsets, you kind of invest in like the software as well. Like for example, you have Oculus Home. Index will always work with Steam VR Home, so that's one of the things. HTC Vive used to be very connected to the Steam VR Home. They also have Vive Port, but okay, that's maybe a little bit. With Windows Mixed Reality, they do have a home, right?
They do have a store. Yeah,
it's like connected to your computer, to Windows.
Yeah, Cliff House. Yeah, and the fourth biggest point was the controllers, because you needed 2 AA's for each controller, and they only lasted a day. Yeah. Literally, you had a solid gaming session one day, you'd blitz through those batteries.
But I absolutely love that that's no longer the bottom feeder of controllers. I mean, the Cosmos came and saved the day for them.
Well,
they did somehow manage to make it.
How did they release that? I just don't. That's the thing. Like, the controllers are such an important point. And I remember the point of inflection because we had it on the podcast at some point where Rowdy and I were probably going off on Subnautica or something. And I think, like, controllers now is such a turning point. I do wonder, however, with Quest supporting hand tracking, how long is it going to be before controllers are, at least for one slice of the market, obsolete?
Oh, they can pry them from my dead cold body. I don't want to
You're
ever
a
let go
button
of
boy,
controllers.
aren't you? I know you're a button boy.
I love them.
Yeah.
No way. Don't do it.
Well, that's gonna take a while, if it's ever gonna happen.
Next week. No.
So that is the Acer Oho.
Oho.
Press F in the chat.
It's kind of sad. I don't know. It's still kind of sad. I don't know why. I've never tried it. I've never seen it. I've never heard them really talk about it themselves at any expos. But man.
Yeah. Because we want more competition. That's what we want.
Yeah.
Although you did, like, the thing is, we're not really waiting for any new hardware at this point.
No.
Besides maybe standalone, but
we can actually ask if that is becoming a problem, knowing now that 1 in 2 Steam VR uses the Oculus, which is not even the platform for Oculus. It's the platform for, I would say, the Index.
I would think most people buy a mix of both, though.
Yeah,
You know, they probably
I'd
buy
say
titles
so.
on Oculus and titles on Steam.
Yeah, I mean, there's
I
advantages to
certainly
running
do.
natively
Yeah.
on.
But I mean, the
Oculus
advantage
Home.
that Oculus has is that, for example, HTC Vive going on the Oculus Home stores is a bit more complicated.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the Oculus is winning on 2 stores. It's winning on the Oculus store, obviously.
Yeah.
Also apparently winning with 50% of all of the headsets on the Steam VR
Plus-
store.
Who paid you to say that? No,
No, but
I know,
what
no.
I'm asking is that not a problem? Since like which company can still compete with that?
I think the index will grow.
Although
but
there
it
are
will come down in price because
But
it's
they are
very
limited. They're choked on manufacturing. It's clear. And I'll tell you, this coronavirus thing is not going to help them with manufacturing shutdown days and stuff out there. It is
But
not going to help.
no one does. No tech company, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like whole
They all
MW
manufacture
got
them.
canceled. Everyone is losing money at the moment.
Yeah.
And brilliant. We're going to lose money now as well because this podcast is going to get demonetized because as soon as we mention the coronavirus, we get demonetized now. So just
Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 Well,
So
now we can. If you want to say more about this virus, then this is the moment because it doesn't matter anymore. And you know what? I'm just gonna leave. You know, I can't.
Yeah.
I don't get my paycheck by.
no, it's just we mentioned it because last week our show got demonetized because we mentioned the coronavirus in the title. Apparently, it's an edgy topic. An edgy
Stop
topic to
saying it.
discuss. Oh god,
We're getting suppressed.
I'm sorry,
Quick,
Google.
lads,
I'm
we need to
sorry.
buy a 6-pack, bring it on, legitimize it. We're talking about Coronas with lime. Coronas with lime, remember?
Right.
All right.
I'm going to shut up now. I'm going to pass it over to Zim for the latest releases to look forward to this week. Please.
Look forward to, you mean, or
We've had
Well, let's hope so. Let's hope so at least.
we've had
Okay.
2 very rough weeks, I would say.
that's
The thing is,
Understatement.
you guys know this, right? I use it. I'm a huge fan of like stand-up comedy, so I always try to just make it like a comedy show. Then, if it's going to be something, and take the mick out of whatever there is. This week we have some good titles. We actually have 5 things we have to talk about. So,
don't you dare
You're lying. You're
to us.
lying. No,
Don't
you're
you
lying.
Dare. I'm not gonna believe anything of what he's gonna say.
why are they
Brilliant.
Why isn't there faith here? Okay, so for the first game, no one believes me. Right, first game is called Silicon Rising. Silicon Rising. Okay, so if you are impatiently waiting for Cyberpunk 2077, if that's the name, and you're teased bittersweetly by Lo-Fi, which also isn't out yet, then maybe, if you've already beaten Robo Recall several times over, you'd be interested in this high-octane action shooter for PC VR headsets that launched on the 13th of February by Kirk Game. It involves driving, heavy use of room scale, dodging, and lots of shooting. So this is a dolled up, again, I say Robo Recall again because it's a bit like that in the way it looks and feels. Very pretty, advanced wave shooter, in essence. There's some driving in it. There's sniping in it. Reviews on this are mostly positive. From what I've read, I guess I picked one Steam reviewer just to kind of summarize what I saw on Steam. In terms of people, because I've not played this game, and I would be very surprised if any of these guys have played it yet. So this game is available first at a price of $20 or $15.49 in pounds. As I said, this just released a couple of days ago. Steam reviewer Hecklack says, this game can be described as Time Crisis in a cyberpunk theme environment. There are 5 missions with 3 difficulty levels and great replayability. The scoring system makes this a fantastic game for VR parties. Went on about that. Again, like Mike stroking his beard, I feel a little bit like this looks like other kind of, and I'm not poking on the Asian market, but Asian developed titles that have like they're trying to deliver more of the veneer and the sheen than the
But they're
core
smart
gameplay.
enough not to say it's a wave shooter.
Yeah, and it is
And
in its soul.
They're also smart enough to not say, because I saw now the trailer, I think it's on rails. It's not entirely clear from it, but if I look at it, it kind of
It
looks
is.
like it's on rails.
So I actually played this game,
Yes.
and I got to play it when I was in China because
Wow.
I was in Beijing and I was at Microsoft's their office, and I got this message, and they were like, these 2 developers said like, hey, we want you to show the game that we have called Silicon Rising. It's very awesome. It's like, well, come here and then show it. So they took a 4-hour plane to come to me
these are the
to show
guys.
it.
These were the heroes who
Yes, and they showed it to me. So I played the game on this very tiny setup, very very cool. It like it fitted into this tiny suitcase. So yeah, as you said, it looks very nice, but it is a wave-based shooter. It is on rails. The only thing that kind of isn't on rails is you driving in a car. But besides that, it's all on rails. You're not moving in this game. You just stand on one spot, you shoot some enemies, then you proceed to the next area. It's very, let's say, 2016. And then I was asking them, so like, no offense, I think this game is nice, I like it, but I said, like, who is this for? And then the story came to say, like, so we already made another game very similar to this one for arcades. So like, oh, this is an arcade game. I said, like, oh, so it's for location based. I said, like, yes. So like, but why are you putting it on Steam? Because again, there are no other platforms to put it on. So they put it on Steam, and why not then also sell it? Because you could make some extra money off that.
Yeah.
But from the core, this is a game that you pay maybe $5, and then you play it in an arcade with a gun stock, and that's it. And then it's nice because you're not moving. It's pretty solid in that sense. But for, let's say, the consumer, I don't think it's very
appetizing. Yeah.
No. Yeah. So
it's very interesting because a lot of the review comments talk about the use of room scale being one of the main selling points of the game. So you're saying
no, that's not really true.
And the thing is, like, when you finish a section of it, it just fades to black.
Oh, you've played this as well, Mike?
Yeah, and then it just fades back in again, and you're in a new location. It's just very very arcadey. Yeah, I didn't.
I could tell it was arcadey. I couldn't tell it was on rails, and as I said, from the review comments, they were pretty good. But I wonder if they were padding the reviews as well.
Yeah, nice aesthetic, but
yeah, that's the thing that I was worried about. I saw a guy firing the sniper rifle, and I saw like the gun action looked like an inexpensive gun model. Anyway, let's move on from this one. We got four more to do.
But I found the most funny part was in the trailer was the guy who's like explaining something to you, and behind him is like literally like someone shooting. You see bullets like flying like left, right, and center.
Don't even get me started on like the voice acting or anything. Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, they said definitely several people said that there were that the voice acting was awful. Yeah. And someone actually, Rowdy, in the Steam comments said the same thing. They said there's a dude here who's telling you what the next mission is, and there's all this gunfire going off behind him, like, and he's not even ducking or whatever.
But what I do know for a fact, everything that people do not like about this game, if you tell them, then they will definitely look into it. They were very serious about what they made. So if there's something that you want to give feedback on, definitely do it, because they have fixed some stuff already. Even when I gave feedback, like, hey, they sent me a message like, hey, look, we changed this and that. So they're, willing to improve. But again, I would play this at an arcade, would have a lot of fun, but I wouldn't play this at home.
Yeah, exactly. Well, good. Thank you guys for the feedback. It's so funny. 2 out of the 3 of you had played it. I was like, no one's going to know about this title.
Funny coincidence.
That's great. Well, it's better to get the direct feedback than just go off of what we've got in the store or something that's just released.
Yeah.
So good on you. Okay, next, here's a game that I played in alpha ages ago and has had its release now. So this game did actually previously release on Steam in alpha, and it has only just dropped on Oculus Home on the 13th of February. So Into the Radius VR is a stalker-like single-player atmospheric game, a lot like DayZ to some extent. It's got a full weapon system in that you need to clean your guns, you need to use certain specific ammo in certain weapons, and you're kind of wandering around quite a bit. In other words, there is a walking simulator component to this first-person shooter. And it's very eerie. It's got like a desaturated look to the whole game. I don't know if any of you guys have played this, but when I played it, like you were hunting for invisible objects with this little monitor that you had on you, and then you were trying to kind of make your way. It was roguelike, so you were trying to make your way through a very dangerous set of fields and hills towards a central location, and felt like very much kind of like a Chernobyl-esque environment. Yeah. And there were also kind of apocalyptic zombie creatures coming after you as well, almost like something from the movie Ghost, when the demons came up out of the shadows. So I don't know, Into the Radius, it's someone in Steam said, and this is what I would agree with, it scratches a very niche particular itch. I think the game is quite overpriced for what it offers. It's currently $30 or $23.79 in pounds. And as I said, that's been available on Steam for some time. Obviously, took time to get through the Oculus store. Is now available on Oculus Home as of 2 days ago.
For me, I repeat Nathy's comment about, Silicon Rising, and it looks like a 2016 game. Like, it could be like the Brookhaven experiment for, if you watch the trailer, for example, you wouldn't know the difference.
It's like, the thing is, the elements you share with us is interesting, but it doesn't, make me curious in a way. It's like the baseline is there, but then there needs to be more progression system. What is this open world? What is the story behind it? Like, you need to sell me on the Steam store. I'm not blaming you, by the way, but you know what I mean, right?
And I actually think, like, one of the things I see a lot in releases is people talk about, and it's puzzle games and it's games like this, about, you got to solve the mystery. What's the mystery? And it's like, you're going to find something at the center of the radius. The radius is like this event. There's like this circle around this area, and it's dangerous for a variety of reasons, and you're trying to hunt for the answers. Unfortunately, again, what we hear, and I found this to be true when I played it, and I know it's matured quite a bit, but the game is pretty hard as nails. It doesn't tell you a lot. It doesn't tutorialize you a lot, and a lot of people are like, you need a tutorial. I tend to like games like that, but even this I found frustrating when I played it in alpha. So again, if that looks like your kind of thing, then go for it.
Yeah.
But generally, tip for developers, I think that if you it's kind of like the film premise of you woke up with amnesia and you have no idea how you got there. You know what I mean? It's like that simple, easy, I didn't hire a writer, so we're just going to call it a mystery.
What happened then, Zim? What happened?
Then it was just a dream.
But that's what Sim says here is like, it's for this, kind of niche group of people. That's where it already goes wrong, because I'm sure these developers wanted to sell it to as many people as possible. Yeah. So by you saying that, it's already this game is almost doomed to fail in that sense.
Now, speaking of niches, this makes me segue perfectly into the next game.
Okay.
Now you're expecting.
There better be a game in there that I'm interested in.
Well, he didn't lie yet, so I'm fine. I'm fine.
I didn't lie. Right? This one's good. It's almost like a segue. What's more fun than riding on a Segway? Go on, lads. Take a guess. Go on. You each get one mode of transportation. What's more fun than riding on a Segway?
Segway.
A one wheel.
So, skateboard is a great guess, lads.
A one wheel?
What's a one wheel?
You don't know them?
I actually don't know what a one wheel
Zim's
is.
not hipster enough to know what a one wheel is.
Is that one of those like things that you like? I think I saw someone at Oculus Connect with it. Anyway, okay, one wheel. All right, Nathan, what's your guess?
Flying carpet.
Not even close. All right, cross-country skiing is clearly the answer. Cross-country skiing. We haven't had a VR game in that, I don't think, for some time. So this game is called Biathlon Battle VR. Now, Biathlon Battle, which strangely is advertised only for Vive and Windows Mixed Reality, to spite me, I guess.
That's very specific.
This is a $10 title.
Oh, jeez, the trailer.
$7.19, right? In pounds. This is by Animar Games and launched on Valentine's Day. Now, something that I find really odd, right? This is a VR winter sports simulator. For those who don't know what a biathlon is, it combines cross-country skiing and shooting in this Olympic event.
Nice thing. Yeah.
This is the biggest problem I find. The name of the title, Biathlon Battle VR, indicates to me multiplayer. This is a single-player game. And they released it on Valentine's Day, which tells me they're targeting single, lonely people. Your rivals
I played it. I played now.
Nice, Nathan. I like that. Self-deprecating humor is always good. So your rivals in this game are 9 different AI sportsmen. And I don't know why they focused on men. Weird. From 9 different countries, right? And apparently the thing has.
I think that's ideally their market.
Their market. Like lonely guys,
single men
who need to cross-country ski and shoot stuff to feel good about themselves. I don't know. Biathlon Battle VR, to me, this is the oddest of the games, I think, this week. I would enjoy
If you're if you're interested in the sport, then I can imagine that you would like to get a feel for it. That 0.001% of the population that feels inclined in order to go and do that, and they can train in here.
Well, from all of the games you showed us, the trailer looks nice.
Yeah.
The idea is not that bad, I would say.
No.
Makes me wonder who's gonna create something for the Olympics soon. Again, if you want to share some, then. But yeah, no, I don't know.
It reminds me of.
I tried. Okay, I tried.
These guys are all trying to save it like from the bin. I love it.
It's still a sport. It's still a sport. Like I can imagine for people that are interested in.
Yeah, Rowdy, you can make it very popular.
Try it
now. Like, can we have a name for the season? Like after a new year. Like what do we call this? Like this third week or this like almost.
It's a drought.
It's like the season of fast food VR content or something. I don't know.
It is. Yeah. See, Nathan's right, because it's not that there aren't games releasing. There are plenty of games releasing.
And this is not only in the VR scene. I also noticed this in the pancake industry. It's the same deal, but for VR, it's more, let's say,
I guess
we're the ones reporting on it, so that's why it's hard,
It's the drought of desperation. It's the developers who couldn't quite make it for Christmas, have to release before March, so they drop it in January or February.
But this kind of reminds me of winter games. Did you ever play winter games?
I know I played an Olympic Winter Games game on I think it was like Super Nintendo or something,
or
but it
Commodore
had
64 or something. Yeah,
or Nintendo 64. It was that era, and it was really good. And the last time I played in a biathlon was that. It's like 20 years ago now. Why? Yeah. What is this Winter Games game?
Yeah, because that had the same thing where you're like skiing and then shooting. So you had to like ski and then shoot.
I loved Mike's illustration for the audio listeners, shake his hands and then shooting. Shake his hands.
That's why you can't pry buttons from this bad boy. So that was Biathlon Battle VR. Again, my biggest disappointment there was no multiplayer. I don't know how. I think that would be really fun to ski alongside each other, like a sprint vector type thing.
And hold hands.
And I don't know about that, Nathan. Yeah, you're clearly lonely. Yeah.
So if there's any Olympic game that you could have in VR, any suggestions?
Oh, good call.
So in the chat.
Swimming.
Fuck that, swimming.
It'd be hilarious.
What are you gonna like just do this the whole time? What do you mean? How are you gonna control that?
No, you lay flat on a surface.
You're planking,
and then it's good core training as well.
God, I don't know enough about the Olympics. When I was in London, I skipped the London Olympics because I'm like, feck that, I'm staying inside playing games. I don't care about that. Anyway, yeah. Sorry, Londoners.
Or like those, how do you, I don't know the English word for it. When you're like running, you need to jump over like those obstacles.
You mean the tall bar?
No. You do like a lap. You do a lap and you need to jump over those like.
Yeah, it's like
a hobby horse.
No, he means no. It's so you're running, right?
Hurdles.
Hurdles.
The chat knows
hurdles. God, how do we not know hurdles? Jesus.
Because we're gamers and we don't,
We're not athletes.
Two more. This is easy though. These are easy.
So English.
So before we go to the next game, we have some suggestions in the chat. Buck says sumo.
Oh, sumo would be really fun. I think. Yeah, because you can get the momentum going, Yeah. Get the momentum going.
And then we have the Mad Hatter saying pole vault with room scale.
Holy.
Thomas, who says discus throwing for sure. Well, that's gonna.
Oh my God, that is a bad idea.
Starter pistol simulator.
Oh no. Starter pistol. Yeah.
Gymnastics.
Yeah. Look, there are plenty of gymnastics games already on Steam. Most of them, admittedly, are adult titles, but there are plenty with girls in spandex and stuff.
This is the best one, frog racing.
Is that an Olympic sport? I think that's not an Olympic sport.
I have no idea. Maybe. Could become one in the
Thank
future.
you for asking, chat. Again, chat proving to us the level of your IQ is just right up there. All right. Thank you all. Right, 2 more to get through. What could they be? These are actually the quality ones. I know I said quality ones and I led in with anyway. So this one, we've already spoken about it early in the podcast. I won't dwell on it too much. Ghost Giant is landing again 20th of February, in case you weren't with us at the start. Nathan and Mike, I think, both got a chance to play this one, and I'll just tell you a couple little bits about the game. So this is their tagline: "Sometimes all you need is a helping hand." And if you liked Moss, pay attention. In Ghost Giant, you are the protector of a lonely little boy named Lewis. Invisible to everyone but him, so you're a ghost. It's a heartfelt puzzle story in VR about trying to keep life together with a little help from a very big friend. That's you. For me, this feels like Animal Crossing fused with Moss. And unlike, I suppose, Nathan and Mike, my position on the game is I played halfway through on PSVR. It didn't have enough bite for me to keep playing it. Unlike Moss, which was there was more combat and stuff in there. And I hate to say that. I mean, like, there are some games that just aren't manly enough to continue my attention. And unfortunately, I think that's where Ghost Giant fell down for me. But I agree, and I concur that it is a very quality title. I think a lot of people will enjoy it. It's an easy one to enjoy.
Let's say if the story doesn't grab you in that sense, then you're not going to finish it. It's really about the story.
And it's a puzzle game, really. Like, it's not. Yeah. It doesn't hold your hand either. Like, there are scenes where you're stuck there. You're like, where the hell is the corn hat? All I need to find is the corn hat for this little kid, and I can't find the bloody corn hat. It is a puzzler, and that's why I'm not surprised that Mike really likes it. Anyway, what do you guys want to say about it? Anything else?
It's almost like Where's Wally as well, because like you're right, you have to find little pieces that are hidden in the map somewhere, and it could be like hidden under another piece that you need to move. So it can be frustrating if you don't like that sort of gameplay. But for me, I really loved it.
Yeah.
And says Ghost Giant would be nice with hand tracking, but doesn't it have hand tracking?
No.
They just look like ghost hands.
They look like ghost hands.
What is the ghost hand then?
It's node-based. It's node-based. So it's still tracking your hand, but it's not tracking your fingers or movements. No.
Okay.
No. I think you basically got grab and not grab. And then like really elastic, like you're like not Lance Armstrong. Shoot. Who's the stretchy arm guy? The toy from the 90s?
Stretch Armstrong.
Stretch Armstrong. Don't stretch Lance Armstrong's arms.
You know that I actually destroyed Stretch Armstrong once by pulling him too hard? It's like the first time I bought one. It's been a few years ago, and I returned it to the store saying it was my fault. But something I do want to say, and that's something very unique that more developers should make use of, that will make things way more magical, is that you can also use the microphone. It's almost like this Nintendo DS kind of thing where you can blow into the microphone and then actually interact with the world that way. And I don't see anyone using the microphone that much in terms of what you say or You know who uses it now? I just enabled that setting on The Walking Dead.
Yep.
The Walking Dead allows you to enable that zombies can hear you through the microphone. When you're streaming and talking to chat, and they're using your voice bot to also make noise, it's a little precarious. But that is another good place where. But I agree with Nathan. There is not enough games.
So you turned it off, or you turned it on?
Oh, I turned it on.
I think there
way
is
more entertaining on. Not good for me.
There is another example that is great too. I think Mike has played it. It's the one where it's like you're in this cockpit and you speak to this computer, I think.
Oh, yeah, Starship Commander. That was one of the Zim's recommendations.
There's another one that does something, not the same, but
Elite. Elite does it too.
Yeah.
Elite does it too, but I meant the game from the Metro developers. How's it called again?
No.
Arctica 1.
Arctica 1. When you speak, they make like...
The mist comes out.
The mist comes out
in the cold,
But that's there as well. If you're smoking a cigar in Blood and Truth in the PSVR game, you're able to do that as well.
That's true. That's also true.
So there are a few games that do it. I think Nathan kind of hit it on the head, though, with the Nintendo DS reference, because Nintendo tried it. It kind of failed. Remember they had I remember playing like Castlevania, and they had the ice cubes that you could like clear on the screen and stuff with a stylus. That I found to be a lot more compelling in their games than the breathing. But
also, Rowdy, don't compare Arctica 1 with Metro. You know what happens. It's an inside joke.
It comes from the.
Yeah, no. Don't. No. You shouldn't do that. That's just
Keep it on the down low, yeah? All right. Last one, but not least. This is the game Mike introduced me with this week, O-Shape. O-Shape, which was previously available on PC VR headsets, is now coming to Quest. And I can tell you, having played through all of the 17 songs, which were available in 3 different difficulties, that it's a great room workout. And I'll call that, like, you need lateral space available. I was punching my window a little bit and a little bit to the right. That's about the amount of room you need, a little bit wider than your kind of arms outstretched. But this is another rhythm beat game, except for on the beats, you're stepping aside from objects, ducking things, punching large red walls that come in front of you, and of course the hallmark of the game, making silly body shapes to fit through glass panels that are coming at you. Now, O-Shape actually lends and takes its hand from a Japanese TV show, which was called Hole in the Wall. And there have been a couple of other VR titles that attempted something like this.
Oh, yeah?
But I have to say that O-Shape, in its form and Quest, for me, was astounding. And I keep getting gobsmacked by these conversions from PC titles that come over to Quest, and they run like glass. And this is another one. So you've now got, with Audica having released less than a month ago, and then this, you've got 2 brand new, great titles with their own kind of fresh music in a box. So
it's a fun game.
It's a fun game.
Does Nathan want to tell the story about the hole in the wall game that we played?
Oh God, what did you play?
So I visited Nathan, right, and we were playing a bunch of stuff together, and there was this like hole in the wall game that we played with full body trackers. So we used like Vive trackers, like strapped to our feet.
I'll see your feet.
And it was bad, but it was so bad that it was good. You know what I mean? And there was one part where actually Nathan jumped in the air to get through one of these like hole in the wall shapes, and it actually worked, and it was just like brilliant when it worked.
Freaking epic.
But the rest, it kind of didn't work so well.
It's so funny, but it was so funny. Because of the fact it didn't work, it was even way more fun.
Yeah. But yeah, O-Shape, when you see someone nailing those like positions, it's just hilarious. Like watching your stream was just hilarious.
This is something I saw at Gamescom. They had it at Games. They were showing it off, and there were people really into it. And like, it's definitely something that they should also have at arcades, because it's really stealing. Just like with Beat Saber, it's very. Yeah. So yeah, this is a good advertising for VR, I would say.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like if the O-Shape team aren't going to conventions and putting a big old screen up and having people play this game, like it should draw attention. As you say, like when you saw people playing Beat Saber, crowds would line up to be like, oh, what is this? This looks really engaging. And then you get that crowd effect building. And I think I agree with you. This would totally build hype in a crowd.
Yeah. We have El-Bagdawonk, which is just knowledgeable reversed. I just saw that. But he says in chat that they also have a Kama Sutra add-on. That would be...
Oh my God.
I would think that would be hilarious if someone would mod those kind of shapes in that game.
And it would require multiplayer? The multiplayer add-on? Oh God. No, honey, do downwards facing dog right now. Yeah, okay, that's great. Yeah, they could sell it as something.
Okay. Well, everyone who's watching or listening, enjoy the free show. This one is completely free. This was it. Like never mind.
So the last thing I'll say in other game release related news is, I'm sorry we haven't had much on PSVR landing recently. That store has been a bit dry. But what we do have this week, which I would recommend you stay away from, is a game called Bullet Sorrow VR. It was out.
Oh, Bullet Sorrow, yeah.
It was out for other platforms, PC VR, for instance.
It's been a while, though.
It's been almost 2 years, I think, since it landed there. From what I could glean from it, first off, mixed, if not negative or poor reviews from what I've seen of it. It doesn't look like they've done much to upgrade the game. They brought it over to PlayStation. I guess they're rolling the dice again. But personally, I would say stay away from that. And next week, we'll talk a little bit more about the one that Nathan already spiked about, which is Space Channel coming
Space Channel
to PlayStation quite soon. So we'll talk about that more next week.
That's going to be lovely.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that, because I think, Minity, did you play that as well? Because that's
yeah,
quite a good one.
I did. I can also, I'm sure you also have some footage. Maybe we should also share some of our moves on the podcast.
Oh yeah, sharing our moves. I might take yours then. All right, well, that was it for releases this week. We'll go back to Mike, so.
Cool. So our main topic this week is a bit of an unusual one, and I saw this doing the rounds this week, and even mainstream media outlets were talking about it, and you may have seen it for yourself. Now, this footage, it was footage that came from a South Korean documentary where a company used VR to recreate the likeliness of a 7-year-old girl that had sadly passed away, and then they reunited the digital avatar of that girl with her mother. So sadly, we can't show the video, as apparently it's getting a lot of copyright strikes for people that are showing it, but I can kind of explain what it shows. I think we've got a couple of stills as well. It's actually really hard to watch the video as well. Like, I watched it earlier on in doing research from the show, and it actually like completely got me, like, and unexpectedly as well. Like, I don't normally get emotional about stuff, but for some reason this hit me really hard, and I was just like, holy crap, this is just really difficult to watch, because like, I can't even begin to comprehend what it would be like for that mother to lose a daughter, and then having lost a daughter, then be reunited with an avatar that looks practically indistinguishable from her dead daughter.
This is literally a Black Mirror episode, though, isn't it? I mean, I know you were going to bring it up probably, but
it totally is.
It's so weird, because I never expected that to make it into real life.
Yeah, and just the mother's emotions. Obviously she's wearing a Vive Pro headset, which is wireless, and she's got like these gloves on and Vive trackers on her hands, and it's all kind of been filmed in like mixed reality almost. But you can hear from her voice, the pain that she's going through, and obviously the tears are streaming like from underneath the headset. So like, it completely got me. I was like, oh my god, this is like so hard to watch, but it's very interesting, and it opens up a very interesting sort of conversation to have, and this is kind of what I wanted to open it up to you guys as well, in that this kind of technology. So they've recreated this avatar of this woman's dead daughter, which is tragic. I think she had like an illness, so she didn't make it, sadly. But the thing is, when you watch the video, probably the heartbreaking thing about the whole thing is that the mother is trying to reach out and grab her. She wants to hold her. She wants to hug her. And the avatar is talking to her as well, and sort of saying, did you miss me and stuff like this. And that like, when I like lost my mind, like literally broke my heart when I watched it. But the thing is, like, should this be possible? Is the question really that I wanted to ask, because, in my opinion, with the whole grieving process, and of course you never want to forget these people. That will never happen. You'll always remember them. But at some point you've got to let go, right? You've got to let go of this physical connection. And I think that being reunited with a loved one that's passed away in VR like this, that's almost so realistic that you want to reach out and touch them and talk to them, that surely that isn't helping with the grieving process. It's just opening up the wounds further. It's not giving you that time to heal. So that's kind of what I wanted to ask you guys, like, what do you think about this? And if you could bring a loved one, or like a loved pet, for example, back to life, would you do it, and should you do it, is the question.
I got a question about this, because I couldn't glean from the information that I'd absorbed. Is this a scripted kind of enactment by the daughter in VR? Is this kind of reactive AI? I couldn't tell exactly what it was. I thought it was scripted.
Yeah, it felt scripted, I think. Like, she came around the corner, she was wearing the kind of clothes and even sandals that she would normally wear in real life. And then she started asking questions, and particularly like, if you missed me, do I look pretty wearing this and stuff like that? And you're just like choking up, like, oh, I've got something in my eye, it's heartbreaking. And then later on in the video, she's putting her to bed and then celebrating a birthday that she never had with her. And it's just awful. And I couldn't imagine myself personally wanting to because I couldn't imagine myself wanting to relive that pain again. Do you know what I mean? Because the problem is, you know, as some people might say, it might be good for her, you're having to say goodbye all over again.
That's
you know,
the thing,
and that is like the hardest part, is saying goodbye. So to then relive it and then have to say goodbye again, it's like, you know, it's just heartbreaking.
And it's also, it's not natural to say goodbye twice.
No, definitely not. And this is interesting because this is the first time we've ever really seen anything like this.
Yeah.
You know,
I think it's something that is very carefully. It can be used in appropriate scenarios. I mean, I don't know how she lost her daughter. If it was a sudden accident, if it was a disease, if it was, you know, like indeed, like has she had the chance before to say goodbye?
Yeah,
Because
I think so. It was
maybe-
like an ongoing illness.
Okay, so for that kind of stuff, I do think it's not good to do something like this, because indeed you will have to, you know, the thing with you basically is how life would be if she would still be around. And I don't know per se if that is good for someone who has gone through that emotional closure already in order to open that back up. But I do think that for people who haven't had the chance to say goodbye, or who have not had that emotional closure, for that specific group, that something like this could be useful.
Yeah,
But
that's
the
interesting.
problem,
Yeah.
the problem with this again is because it's scripted. It's written by someone else. This is not done by the person itself who's saying goodbye. And I think that is a very crucial aspect that is missing in this experience, because this is
Exactly.
made by someone who has no idea who this person. Okay, they probably read a diary, or they probably get information from the parents, but they have no idea who this
Family.
person really is. And we don't know what that person in that kind of scenario would say. It's a completely different kind of scenario if, for example, someone's father or mother would make this kind of thing for, you know, when I pass away, I want my family to have a remembrance of me, and like, this is how I am. And then that's a completely different kind of scenario again than what this is, I think.
But then
But
also
this is
that,
created by someone who actually passes away.
yeah, but as you said, like that would have a different approach in terms of what you would step into in VR.
But that's why I'm saying, like, I don't think you can just say like, yes, you can do this, or no, you can do not, because it depends highly on the situation, I think, that you're in, and on the, you know, the emotional strength and the amount of closure that those people have already had.
The thing is, and that's what I'm wondering, is like, if, let's say, someone, you know, passed away recently, and there's a company who, you know, knows that just happened. You know, there are companies out there who sell stuff to you because, so a company comes to you and they say like, listen, this is what we can do. You know, we can bring someone back. You can just, you know, do whatever you want. You just let us know. It's hard to refuse for a lot of people. I've seen, like, when this video dropped, I saw people on Twitter, on Facebook. Some of them said like, yeah, this is creepy. This is not okay. This is gonna. But others were like, oh, you know, I would really like to meet this, and it, you know, that's the thing. It's for a lot of people, it's hard to say no to something like that,
but
even
again,
if it would be better for you in the end. Because even for me, if someone would say like, hey, like my grandparents passed away like last year and the year before that, and I'm like, if someone would come to me right now and they would say that, it's hard for me to say no. Even that you guys say it's creepy.
Yeah.
I don't care.
But again, that,
you know?
I think that highly depends on, like, you know, how this thing is being constructed. Because if it's someone else who's making your grandparents or your loved one, that's a completely different thing.
Yeah. But what I'm
But
hearing-
imagine if they would indeed be able to upload the entire, you know, human being in this kind of form. That's a completely different thing, because then you have the actual person into this kind of experience. And could you say no to that then?
But isn't there the uncanny? So this is exactly where the Black Mirror episode takes us. Okay, so for those who haven't seen it, right? I think it's a wife loses her husband or something along those lines. And there's a system that basically ingests that man's profile. So they've got all his emails, all his correspondence, and they recreate him in such a way that she's there, you know, on the bed with the phone out. Now, with this service, this like Restoration Afterlife, texting him, right, and getting all bittersweet tears and stuff because she feels like she's texting her old husband, who died prematurely, and like the core question, I guess, Mike, that you're asking here, right, is firstly, should it exist? And I would take a very similar stand to this as I would on something as divisive as like abortion, which is, I think it's a very personal subject. It's a very circumstantial subject. I think it's going to depend on the situation at hand. I take Nathan's point in that it's like medicine, right? Sometimes medicine isn't good for you. And it's difficult to say no to something that feels like it's right, but maybe shouldn't be right. Or that's something that you shouldn't opt into. For me personally, I've unfortunately dealt with this situation quite directly. I used to be a hospital porter, and we deal with people who were very ill, to the point where you'd go from the minute they were alive, they'd die, the family would be there, they'd go through the trauma that is for whatever minutes it is. We'd wrap up the body, take him downstairs into the morgue, and shelve him. Like, that was my job for a while. So dealing with that pain, like what you said, like that video, watching that back, brought those memories back to me, this kind of wave of like, when you feel someone else's pain, it's your mirror neurons all kicking off. And so you feel like you're in their shoes, and it's a really weird human thing. I going through that, I'm glad we have that capability, because it allows us to be empathetic with someone else instead of just standing there coldly being like, oh, they're going through something. I have no idea what that feels like. Your brain triggers in a way. So for me, this being allowed, if you were to compare it with something like DNA-based cloning, I would probably stand on cloning and saying that's quite a dangerous pit for us to go down just with science. And I'm not going to take us down that rabbit hole. But for this, it feels, because it's very personal, and it doesn't have like a multiplicative effect. It's one person. It could be quite cathartic to, some people go through grieving a different way, and opening up an old jewelry box with memories of something. I mean, you'll see it in any, kind of romantic, heart-jerking, tear-jerking film where someone, opens up an old memory box or something. This is just a modern version of that for me. And if you've been through that difficult time, any tool that can help you, even if it means you go through more pain to kind of purge it, I think it's a good thing. I mean, it's technology, it's new. People are going to have to learn how to use this as a tool. But for me, I think it should stay.
I think I'm afraid that it's going to get exploited, because it's like you can make a lot of money out of that too.
You mean the business side, right? Like,
and then it's not like, oh, maybe it's not suitable for you, and maybe it's no, they just want to make money in the end. And it becomes like a legit thing. Yeah, no,
it can take much worse turns as that, because now we're only talking about people who died. But what about people who live? For example, if you have a creepy ex who wants to have you in your kind of virtual reality world, or like, there's so many weird kind of scenarios that can develop from that as well, that I'm not entirely convinced that this is such a good.
What it comes down to is that we are talking about playing for God. And there is no one who should be allowed to do that.
Yeah, but we've been doing that for years.
Yeah, I mean, like, take a picture of somebody. I mean, what do you mean? Like, that's what the Native American Indians is like, you can't take my photograph, you're stealing my soul.
I get it, but it every time proves that it's not going to head into the right direction.
Yeah. I think Rowdy made an interesting point in that, say the circumstances around the death are quite sudden, and you didn't have the ability to say goodbye. But maybe using this technology to have that ability to say goodbye and have that closure might be helpful, and something that I hadn't considered.
But what I do want to stress about it as a coping mechanism, not something that is sold by a company or if you pay a lot of money. No, this needs to be in a psychiatric environment that people, they've tried other things, they can't get over their grief, and they have another tool, which is then this kind of experience in order to get closure.
Yeah.
Control. The company could say
when it's like
person on our file and
if it's controlled and it's used like as a medicine in a way where it's like, they did research on it, they know what the effects are. If it's good to use that on this person based on all the data they have, then it's fine. But if it becomes a commercial thing, because
I disagree so wholeheartedly on this, because again, you're saying that based on measurements, you're going to be able to tell what's right and wrong, which is not that clear cut in this case. It's not.
And I think what Nathan's saying is, like, if it was someone like a doctor or a psychiatrist that was saying, maybe try this out.
Still, how many doctors misprescribe medicine? It's not that clear cut.
Yeah, but what I think is the point. The reason why I wanted to talk about this was because it was something, I think, unlike anything else we've ever seen.
Yeah.
As human beings, we've never seen anything like this, I don't think, before. A full embodiment of a lost one in such a realistic and immersive way. We've never seen that before. So I thought it was unique. I thought it was interesting, and it does raise these like interesting questions around ethics and whether it's right for someone or maybe not right for someone else. But it certainly divided the opinion online, and I think it's divided us to a certain degree as well. In terms of whether we think it's right or not.
There's also really a point here that Rowdy make, and I want to go into that because for me, we're now in the age of profiling. And what I mean by that is you've got a digital profile. Google knows you. Facebook knows you. Whatever search engine you use knows you, and probably your texting service or whatever, like WhatsApp.
Insurance companies are trying to get you DNA sequence so they can determine which kind of genetic, kind of disability.
But why not?
But
this is what Rowdy's saying. Like, right? What if it's like, here, I'm going to take a hair out of Mike's beard, and now Mike's my personal sex doll. How? Hey,
well, you did send me that pillow, Mike.
He said each of us that pillow, Yeah. There were no instructions.
Cut of it. At least you're going to cut me in, Give me a percentage.
But this is the thing that even sex workers are quite sensitive to. And we take it back to martial arts. Who was it? Was it Jet Li who did not allow himself to be filmed in 360 because it's those are my moves. Those are going to die with me. I don't want to be
Bruce Lee. No?
Bruce Lee. Sorry. Yeah. So, but I think that Rowdy, you're really onto that point, and I think, frankly, and unfortunately, the business drivers behind this, the use cases that are going to blur those lines, I think, irrespective of what we all think, I think that's coming. I think that's absolutely coming. I think that our digitized identities, as close, and again, the uncanny valley separating between that thing that isn't us and the real us is coming. The really weird thing that I think is also coming is having a personal coach, right? Or a coaching system that uses that entity that is you. You're still alive, Rowdy. You want to self-improve. We take your profile and we present it back to you. So you can have the quickest closed loop with yourself and realize your own personal flaws and get better. And use that in some kind of a way to springboard.
What do you mean get better?
Sorry, I forgot.
He's got to realize that he's a perfect human.
It's just I have that thing in the house. It's called a mirror.
This is not going to age well, I'm afraid.
Now we're delving into other problems.
This is a great topic, though, Mike. I mean, I'm a huge fan. It's one of the reasons that podcasts are great, because having contentious subjects to talk about, I think, is a as long as you're willing to hear both sides of the argument, your brain can change because of the views of others, things you hear, as you said, Mike, right? There's certain views you wouldn't even consider, and you're kind of locked in one way of thinking. And until you either have that discussion or are involved in listening to or participating in that online, you maybe don't get a chance to even consider those alternatives. So
for sure,
thanks for bringing in contentious stuff. I guess I appreciate that.
It's great. I'd love to know what the chat think. What's their view on it. And I would urge you, if you're going to go and watch the video, just have some tissues nearby, because there is no way you're not going to be shedding tears by watching that video. I don't think anyone could get through that without shedding a tear. It's that sort of heartbreaking to watch. But I think it is an interesting subject, and I think it's worth a little discussion. So I'm glad you sort of enjoyed it. If you've got any questions in the chat, now's a great time. Also, let us know what your views are as well.
Most of them go about your pillow.
Oh, where can we get the blow up Mike doll? Yeah.
You'll get a Mike waifu blow up pillow.
I just find it really interesting. So just to summarize, right? I'm kind of for it. Rowdy, you seemed to be on the specific case applications. Nathie, you're caveating about business and saying you think business is going to unfortunately abuse this. I agree with that. And Mike, you were basically saying, you started off by saying it's a kind of a no-go. This is probably a door best left closed.
I think so, yeah.
Which I find really interesting, given that we're called the F.Reality Podcast. It's like FReality, but we got to keep some real bits, So I just thought I'd finish on that.
For sure, absolutely. Yeah.
The dead kids bit we got to keep,
Yeah, we need a new host. No.
It's good. I like it that we're having different opinions. I prefer that. If we're all nodding at the same stuff, we got to get new people on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So let me recap the show, and then we can take some questions and some opinions from the chat. So just a reminder, it's a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show live streamed every Saturday on YouTube and on Twitch. Don't forget, you can also catch the show live in Big Screen TV. Someone tweeted out this week that they're watching the show live in Big Screen TV, which is really awesome. The show goes live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, 12 midday in Central US. And also check out the audio version, which is available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and on Spotify. Also, let us know if you've noticed that the quality of the stream has improved this week, because like I said, we're streaming now in 1080p rather than 720. So if our cams are looking a bit clearer or you think it looks a bit nicer, again, we'd love to know your feedback in the chat. And if you've got any other suggestions of stuff you'd like to see improved upon it in the future, again, we would really appreciate that feedback. And I think one of the biggest feedback points which we are taking on board is trying to arrange to have more guests on the show, right?
We've already got that. So a couple of us have been working on that, and so we're very close to having the technology to be able to finally bring guests back on like we used to. And it just took a little bit of redesign, so we're nearly there now. Yeah. Another couple of weeks, and I think we'll be there. There was a great
undead guests.
Dead guests on it. Yeah. Oh God. Jesus, Rowdy, we're not going there yet. Maybe next year, 2021.
So next week we're gonna have Hatsune Miku on the show, and.
That would be cool. I'd be up for that.
Dude,
I
am linking you to a video. Maybe not. Okay. Anyway, later. Let's just say I got known for that video for that VR experience on DK2 for a very good reason. Dark room. Okay. Anyway, Kyle Stevens has posted one of the best things I've seen in chat today. I'm curious if we would develop a set of emotional VR legs with this kind of stuff. Like if after a while we wouldn't give us any real emotional response. And I think that we've all probably been through that. We talked about it before, like with the whole virtual gun thing. The first time or a knife, right? You stab a human in VR feels weird. Like there's a weird switch in your brain. The first time you turn a gun on yourself in VR, I've certainly felt those barriers. What does that remind you guys of?
I don't think that. Like with a game, because I think the uncanny valley is still too big in order to get convinced that it's real, because that's what you're basically talking about. I still feel a certain distance between me and the FReality game. If I'm playing GTA and I'm driving over people, it's not like I'm thinking, I'm driving on the road, maybe we should try it here too. There's not like the logical response or the logical. What are you looking at me for that? Like
I totally don't believe it. I'm sure there's a small bit in your brain that goes like, I could just turn the wheel.
The difference is like now, obviously being a VR veteran, you don't feel that way. But certainly, I would agree with Zim in the very early days, it felt very strange, just a strange.
But do you think that is because you have less emotions, or do you think because you get used to it that it is a game and it's not real?
I think you do become desensitized to it to a certain degree.
But I don't think
I think that you become desensitized. So if you would now pick up a gun, you would be less sensitive about aiming it at someone.
No.
Not in real life.
I don't know.
It affected me for sure when it came to roller coasters. I used to be quite timid at roller coasters, and again, just from going on virtual roller coasters, I all of a sudden had balls of steel the last time I was at an amusement park. And let me tell you, I'm not that kind of guy generally, but VR, I was like, let's go on the next Herculean ride, whatever it is. And I couldn't believe it. And I was like, that is completely and only because of all the VR coasters I've been riding. And it's weird because there was definitely a fear factor switch in my brain before. Now, does that mean that parallels with firearms?
I still think that a part of how you play a video game reflects your own personality, and not in the way where that's not where we're going, not in that sense. But it's
we need to get Rowdy some medical help, I think.
Yeah, no, for example, if we would all play GTA, for example, we all play it in a different way.
Are you saying that you don't drive over people when you play?
No, I don't drive over people in GTA. And I also that's true.
Do you drive on the wrong side of the road? How many rules do you break in GTA?
Of course, those rules you break because. No, but I mean in a way where did that, done that. And it's like for me, GTA, I have no urge to drive over people or shoot people on the sideway or.
But there's a number of studies that have shown that
because I know it's not okay.
Impact.
Yeah.
Impact on being emotional incapable or something like that. And I fully stand by that.
I think it's the opposite. I agree with you. I'm saying I think it's the opposite effect on us as humans. Anyone who's a gamer who hasn't come home at some stage, and whether it's Bubble Bobble or GTA driving over bikini babes on a beach, right? Like, uses that to de-stress. I think you're, you know what I mean? Like, it's a useful punching bag, essentially.
I like Bubble Bobble, by the way.
Do you?
Games as a kid.
One of my wife's favorites. So
Love it.
By the way, something you forgot to mention, Mike, is that people need to also like this stream.
Yeah, you should definitely do that. You should definitely like this stream.
Yeah, we need it. We need it, especially this episode. We need it.
And subscribe.
Subscribe too.
Yes.
Besides that, anything else? Oh, we have
thanks for the donations we
have
had
Twitter.
this time as well. We had quite a few.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for the donations. Yeah. Any questions, or should we just wrap it up and say goodbye as we run in on a little bit?
Someone says PSVR 2?
Question mark?
Well, we know that's going to happen. It's just a question of when. Yeah. Next.
One day. One day.
Okay.
No.
Wait. So Mike's a dirty cop?
Yep. It was in a former life.
In a former life, he was a dirty cop. I think that's it for this week, as far as I can say. Yeah.
Cool.
It's all good.
Well, I hope you've all enjoyed the show. I know it's been kind of a range of topics this week, some unusual ones as well at the end there. But let us know in the comments as well, because we do go back to the comments of the video once it's been uploaded after the stream. So if you want to put your opinions there, feel free to do so. We'll be back next week with the show at the usual time. So have a great week in VR. Until then, take care and bye-bye for now. See you later.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.